Chapter 2595. Lu Yin's vision suddenly opened up, and he appeared on a grassy plain. The setting sun was in the distance and it was very beautiful. Where was this? A ray of light flickered from the setting sun and instantly approached. Lu Yin's pupils shrank and he hurriedly dodged. It was a white bone spike from some unknown creature that appeared directly above the grassy plain, floating 100 meters away from Lu Yin. Lu Yin sized it up. What did it mean? He stepped backwards and appeared beside it. He reached out to grab it, but it was cold to the touch. He tried to crush it, but he couldn't. This bone spike was definitely at the progenitor realm. The moment Lu Yin touched it, a consciousness flowed into him, allowing him to understand its use. This bone spike was a power vessel that could ignore all defensive distances. This ability shocked Lu Yin and he looked at the bone spike in his hand. Was it really that strong? This was left behind by Wu Tian, a voice said from behind him. Lu Yin's hair stood on end. Was someone here? He turned around and saw a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. Lu Yin stared at him, but he didn't feel any sense of danger. Either this person wasn't a threat to him or this person was too strong, so strong that it exceeded his understanding. How could someone who wasn't a threat approach him without him noticing? The only possibility was that this person was too strong, far stronger than Su Wei. Was there someone in the Void God spacetime who was stronger than Su Wei? Only the Void Master. Was this man in front of him the Void Master? You're from the primordial space and you deserve to be acknowledged by Wu Tian, the man said calmly as he looked at the bone spike with nostalgia. Lu Yin gripped the bone spike. Junior Xianxia greets Senior. Do you know why no one has been able to pass the Void Gate for countless years? The man asked. Lu Yin replied, because Wu Tian's acknowledgement is required to pass the Void Gate. The man nodded. Wu Tian only acknowledges those from the primordial space and he has requirements for them as well. When the primordial space fell apart, I brought a group of geniuses from the primordial space here and had them attempt the Void Gate, but they all failed in the end. Even I don't think anyone can pass. He then looked at Lu Yin with a strange gaze. You being acknowledged by Wu Tian has fulfilled one of my wishes. Lu Yin didn't say anything. He was afraid that this person would force him to reveal his real name, and he was afraid of this person's attitude towards the Lu family. The primordial space was the primordial space and the Lu family was the Lu family. Lu Yin was a potential enemy of the Six Direction Society. If this person was really the Phantom Master, how would he treat him? Lu Yin did not dare to imagine it, as he was certain that he would not be able to escape from the Void Master. At this moment the only person he could think of was Mr. Mu. Mr. Mu had ensured that the Grand Empyreans would not attack him, but this Void Master was definitely someone he could not deal with. The man raised his hand, and the bone spear left Lu Yin's body and floated into his hand. Lu Yin didn't even try to resist and just stood there quietly. In the next moment the world changed. The quiet afterglow of the setting sun trembled under the boiling virtual god power. Lu Yin stared at the man in shock. Boundless, majestic virtual god power gushed out of the man's body into the bone spur. Lu Yin had never felt such a terrifying virtual god power before. Compared to it, even the virtual god power that filled the virtual god spacetime seemed much weaker. Under the pressure of this faux god force, Lu Yin found it hard to control the urge to kneel. This was a subconscious reaction to the supreme pressure. Yes. Worship? His body wanted to, but his will did not allow it. Lu Yin's gaze was resolute. Aside from his elders, family and teachers, he would not worship anyone else in this lifetime. He would not even worship a Void Master, a Grand Empyrean or a primogenitor. The virtual god power poured into the bone spur. Although Lu Yin felt like it took a long time, it was actually only a few seconds. The man released his hand and allowed the bone spur to land in Lu Yin's hand. This bone spur is a power vessel that Wu Tian valued. He has never used it before and left it here as a reward for passing the void trial. I have also poured enough virtual god power into it to allow you to cultivate to the virtual realm. If possible, you might be able to borrow my power from it. Lu Yin bowed deeply. Thank you, Senior. The man's lips curled up as he looked at Lu Yin. I admire you. You have a backbone. Lu Yin's face twitched as this was not a good thing. Being admired was equivalent to being targeted. I still have time. Do you have any questions? The man looked at Lu Yin with interest. Lu Yin naturally wanted the man to leave, but he could not say that out loud. I haven't thought about it yet. Even if you do, you might not be able to find me. Lu Yin bowed respectfully, but he didn't know what to say. He kept urging the man to leave. Have you come into contact with Wu Tian? The man asked. Lu Yin thought of the Lu family's sword steel, which was actually Wu Tian's stone steel. It was currently in the Above the Sky sect, and only those who had made great contributions to the sect could view it. I've come into contact with Wu Tian's stone steel. The man nodded. Oh, that stone steel. As expected, even if one's innate gift is extraordinary, it's impossible to gain Wu Tian's approval if you haven't come into contact with his items. He then pondered for a moment before continuing, return to the primordial space. This bone spur might be able to help you find Wu Tian's legacy. No one in history has ever defeated Wu Tian in terms of weapons. If you can obtain his legacy, you might be able to do so as well. I'm looking forward to the birth of a second Wu Tian. Lu Yin was puzzled. No one has ever defeated Wu Tian in terms of weapons? The man met Lu Yin's gaze. Wu Tian pioneered the use of weapons and created his own techniques. Don't you know? Lu Yin replied, I know about this, but I don't know what you're talking about. The man clasped his hands behind his back and looked at the setting sun. Everyone has their own path when they reach the end of their cultivation, and the 6 Daoists of the 3 realms are the same as Wu Tian. The Grim Reaper controls death energy and can harvest lives, while Fate can peer into the future. Wu Tian has a special liking for weapons, and he created Wu Fa in the Celestial Eye. No weapon can hide from him, and he can see through countless parallel spacetime. If you can obtain Wu Fa in the Celestial Eye, you might be the next Wu Tian. Wu Fa, the Celestial Eye. Lu Yin muttered to himself, as this was the first time he had heard of Wu Tian's power. The Grim Reaper and Fate were both very famous in the 5th mainland and the Astral Tree domain, but Wu Tian was not well known. Still, no one dared to underestimate Wu Tian, as he was one of the 3 realms. However, no one knew much about Wu Tian's powers, and this was the first time Lu Yin had heard of them. No one could defeat Wu Tian in terms of weapons? No one could hide from Wu Tian's Celestial Eye? Wu Tian could see through parallel spacetime. Lu Yin's eyes lit up as he grasped the bone spear. Could this bone spear really help him find Wu Tian's power? If it could, then that would be great. The man left without revealing his identity. Lu Yin knew that he was a void master, but he did not point it out either. Lu Yin had a tacit understanding, but the man had probably never cared about this. Lu Yin looked at the bone spear again and put it away. He faced the afterglow and bowed. Junior Lu Yin thanks Senior Wu Tian for this gift. As he spoke, the afterglow of the setting sun blossomed into a beam of light that connected the heavens and the earth. At the same time, outside the Void Pass, Zhou Xian and Third Master Mu were talking about something when a beam of light shot up into the sky. They turned around to look, and their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. What? Zhou Xian stuttered. Third Master Mu's eyes narrowed. Someone passed the Void Pass. Both inside and outside the Void Pass, countless people stared at the beam of light in a daze. They knew that this beam of light would only appear if one passed the Void Pass, but it had been many years since anyone had passed it. Who was it? Who had passed the Void Pass? Su Heng and Su Lung were shocked, and they exchanged glances. No way. Is it Brother Xianxia? In front of them, a man wearing sunglasses who had been drinking on the tidal wave suddenly stood up, not even caring that his sunglasses had fallen off. Someone passed the Void Pass? Is it that kid? Only he knew that only one person had entered the vortex during this time, and that was Lu Yin. Too many people had passed the Void Pass in the past, and he had never dreamed that someone would succeed today. How had that kid done it? At the center of the Void Pass, a beam of light shot up into the sky. Not only did it shake the area around the Void Pass, but it also caused ripples that spread throughout the Void God's spacetime. The Void God's spacetime was filled with Void God's power, and this beam of light caused the calm Void God's power to boil. Many people looked over with shock, confusion, and endless envy. Anyone who could pass the Void Pass would be able to become the Void Master's disciple, and become an existence that was only second to one person in the Void God's spacetime. No matter what their cultivation was, even if they were an ordinary person, they would be able to stand on the same level as the powerhouses of the 6 parties gathering. Their status was equivalent to He Rant's, and Bai Qian's status in the Void God spacetime was equivalent to the perfect young master's status in the reincarnation spacetime. The area around the void pass was silent as everyone stared at the beam of light, wanting to know who had passed the void pass. At that moment the void pass trembled and the pushing force suddenly disappeared. Since someone had passed the void pass, the pushing force naturally ceased to exist, and the void pass would no longer exist from now on. As the pushing force disappeared, the void god's power that had been maintaining the tidal wave dissipated, making this place the easiest place to absorb void god's power. Someone immediately started absorbing the void god's power. Even though everyone was curious about who had passed the void pass, their curiosity could not hide the increase in their cultivation. That person would eventually show up, but the void pass collapse was an opportunity. No matter who it was, they were all absorbing the void god's power. The disappearance of the void pass allowed Zhou Xian and Third Master Mu to approach the beam of light. Before them, the man wearing sunglasses was already outside the beam of light, and Su Heng and Su Leng had also arrived before them. When Zhou Xian and Third Master Mu arrived, they saw these three people. Junior Zhou Xian greets Senior Wuji. Zhou Xian bowed respectfully. Junior Mu San greets Senior Wuji. Third Master Mu also bowed. The man wearing sunglasses nodded and stared at the beam of light. Chapter 2596. Zhou Xian and Third Master Mu looked at each other. They both looked at the beam of light. Who could it be? Could it really be Xianxia? They had already searched for Lu Yin on their way here, but they had not found him. Either he had left this place long ago, or he had thought of a certain possibility. Zhou Xian's breathing quickened. Third Master Mu's face turned ugly. It couldn't be Xianxia, right? It couldn't be, right? He couldn't be that unlucky. Lu Yin took one step at a time and appeared in front of everyone along with the beam of light. Zhou Xian was excited and laughed loudly. It was indeed Xianxia. Third Master Mu's face was ashen. How could this be? He had never thought that Xianxia would be able to pass the void stage. This was impossible. How was this possible? Was this kid's talent in the path of virtual god really that terrifying? Su Heng and Su Leng were overjoyed. Congratulations, brother. The man wearing sunglasses nothingness was surprised. Brother? Zhou Xian was also stunned. He knew Su Heng and Su Leng. The Void Yang clan and the Void Yin clan were very famous in the Void God universe. These two clans only had the influence of the Void Transformation realm, but if they joined forces one day they could reach the influence of the Void Tai realm. They were all extremely strong masters who inherited the inheritance of Master Su Yi. How did Xianxia know them? Lu Yin first bowed to Su Wuji before greeting Su Heng and Su Leng with a smile. Finally he looked at Zhou Xian. Senior, this junior has done it. Zhou Xian laughed again. He didn't want to think about anything else. He only knew that Xianxia belonged to the Void God universe and no one could take him away. Lu Yin looked at Third Master Mu. My apologies, Senior. Third Master Mu felt bitter. What else could he say? He had even passed the Void trial, which meant that he was very dedicated to the Void God spacetime continuum. Even if they forcibly took him to the Wood spacetime continuum, it would be pointless. Congratulations. Limitless Void lifted his sunglasses. You all know each other? Zhou Xian replied, Senior, his name is Xianxia and he's from the Sixth Direction training ground. Void was astonished. I remember now. He's the outsider with the greatest talent? Zhou Xian was pleased with himself. Yes. He then curiously looked at Su Heng and Su Leng. How did you two get to know Xianxia? Su Heng smiled. Not long ago we met at the Void Pass. Brother Xianxia helped us, so they've already acknowledged him as their little brother. Su Leng smiled. Xianxia is the younger brother of the Void Yin tribe and the Void Yang tribe. Su Wuji and Su Xian looked over in surprise. They were very clear about the relationship between Su Heng and Su Leng. Why were they so harmonious now? Furthermore, he said that the two races would be joined together. Did this mean that the two races were finally going to merge again? This was a big deal. Lu Yin replied, I didn't do anything. It's just that the onlookers can't see clearly. Big bro, big sis, don't make me sound so good. Su Ling smiled. Brother, there's no need to be so humble. Now that you've passed the trial, do you have any requests? Everyone looked at Lu Yin once again. Anyone who passed the virtual gate could become a disciple of the virtual master or anyone from the virtual god universe. Everyone wanted to know what Lu Yin was up to. Normally he would have to be the disciple of the phantom master. No one doubted this. Being apprenticed to the Su master was a great opportunity to reach the sky in a single bound. Even the Su master could not refuse such an opportunity. Another person arrived and bowed to Su Wuji. He then looked at Lu Yin from afar with curiosity. Who was this person? Lu Yin took a deep breath. Passing the virtual gate meant that he could become a disciple of the virtual master, but he already had Mr. Mu as his master. Naturally, he could not become a disciple of the virtual master. His gaze trembled as he thought about this. This junior would like to invite Senior Su Wei to be my guide in cultivating virtual God's power. Everyone was confused. What did he mean? What guide? And they hadn't heard wrong. They hadn't heard the words virtual master, but Su Wei. Su Xianxia hurriedly confirmed. Xianxia, what did you say? Say it again? Lu Yin respectfully replied. This junior would like to invite Senior Su Wei to be my guide in cultivating virtual God's power. Su Xianxia was stunned. What did this mean? What kind of guide was this? You're not going to become a disciple of the virtual master? Su Wuji was shocked. Su Heng grew anxious. Brother, don't spout nonsense. You only have one chance. Think carefully before you speak, Su Leng added. In the distance, everyone who heard Lu Yin's request was confused. Was this kid stupid? Had he gone crazy after passing the virtual gate? He actually didn't want to become the virtual master's disciple? Lu Yin solemnly repeated. This junior would like to invite Senior Su Wei to be my guide in cultivating virtual God's power. Xianxia. Su Xianxia barked, glaring at Lu Yin. What nonsense are you spouting? Do you know that you can become the virtual master's disciple? Lu Yin solemnly replied. The virtual master's level is too high, and this junior does not have such extravagant hopes. Su Xianxia was enraged and he pointed at Lu Yin while his entire body trembled. Su Wuji waved his hand and virtual God's power swept past Su Xianxia, calming him down. He looked at Lu Yin with a strange gaze. The virtual master's level is too high? Do you know what you just said? Lu Yin respectfully replied. This junior knows that the virtual master created the virtual God civilization, and that he is an unprecedentedly great individual. The opportunity for this junior to become the virtual master's disciple is something that others would beg for, but... He hesitated and looked at Su Wuji before looking back at the gradually disappearing beam of light. This junior still hopes that Senior Su Wei will be my guide in cultivating the virtual God civilization. Su Wuji's eyes flashed and he finally understood. Something must have happened during the void trials that had caused this Xianqi to refuse the virtual master's disciple. He was well aware of the importance of the void trials, and since this kid had passed them, then had the virtual master appeared? Perhaps he had. When he thought of this possibility, he said, Fine. Even if you don't want to become the virtual master's disciple, why not Senior Su Wei? Instead, you're asking him to be your guide? This was also why Su Wuji did not understand. Lu Yin was helpless. This junior greets Senior Su Wei. Due to certain reasons, Senior has not accepted this junior as a disciple. Even if I can become your disciple because I passed the void trials, this junior does not wish to make things difficult for Senior. Thus, I only hope that Senior can be my guide and help this junior cultivate the virtual God civilization. Su Wuji looked at Su Xianxia. Is that so? Su Xianxia sighed. Yes. He had also thought that there might be other reasons for not becoming the virtual master's disciple, but since this matter concerned the virtual master, he did not dare to say anything else. Su Wuji shook his head. What a pity. This kid had clearly passed the void trials, but not only could he not become the virtual master's disciple, but even Senior Su Wei could not become his disciple as well. Even Su Wuji had once wanted to become Senior Su Wei's disciple. Brother, my void god spacetime has many powerhouses in the virtual god realm. Why don't you become their disciple? Su Leng reminded him. Lu Yin raised his brows. This big sister was really digging a hole for him. Wasn't she clearly trying to get him to become a disciple of this progenitor? How could he possibly become a disciple? This junior hopes to cultivate by Senior Su Wei's side, even if Senior does not like this junior, Lu Yin hurriedly said. Su Leng wanted to say something else, but Su Heng stopped her from speaking. Everyone could see that Lu Yin wanted to cultivate with Su Wei, and any further words would put Su Wuji in an awkward position. Su Wuji sighed. Having the opportunity to cultivate with Senior Su Wei is indeed an opportunity. I wanted to follow Senior Su Wei back then, but Senior did not accept me. He then looked at Lu Yin. You're Xianxia, right? This junior is Xianxia. Su Wuji nodded. Cherish this opportunity and follow Senior Su Wei well. You might even have a chance to become his disciple in the future. You'd rather waste the privilege of passing the Void Gate than make things difficult for Senior. Senior will definitely change his impression of you. He then left. With the Void Gate gone, Su Wuji had lost a good place to relax, so he had to find another one. After Su Wuji left, everyone relaxed. Su Xiangyin sighed. What should I say about you? Su Heng replied, everyone has their own ambitions. Lu Yin said, no matter what, this junior has the opportunity to cultivate with Senior Su Wei. Given Senior Su Wei's character, he will definitely guide me with all his heart. That's right. Someone approached from a distance. It was a half-ancestor like Su Xiangyin and the others. I once wanted to become Senior Su Wei's disciple, and I searched for delicacies throughout the Six Directions Society. Although I did not succeed in the end, I learned a lot from Senior Su Wei, which allowed me to reach my current realm. If you have the opportunity to follow Senior Su Wei, you won't lose out to other virtual realm powerhouses. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you for your advice, Senior. The person nodded and left as well, clearly appreciating Lu Yin's actions. Xianxia, are you sure you want to stay in the Void God spacetime? Third Master Mu asked again. Su Xiangyin was displeased. Enough, Third Master Mu. What else is there to say? He had only agreed to let Lu Yin go to the wood spacetime because Su Wei had refused to let Lu Yin join the Void God spacetime. Now that Lu Yin had the opportunity to follow Su Wei, he naturally did not want to let Lu Yin leave. Lu Yin replied, thank you for your kindness, Senior, but I really want to stay in the Void God spacetime. Third Master Mu sighed. Senior Woodcarver is not inferior to Senior Su Wei. Since you can't become Senior Su Wei's disciple, why not become Senior Woodcarver's disciple? Seeing that Su Xiangyin still wanted to say something, Third Master Mu said, forget it. Since it's already come to this, there's no point in forcing it. Xianxia, the doors to my wood spacetime will always be open for you. If you regret it, you can come to my wood spacetime and I will think of a way to help you leave the Void God spacetime. Su Xiangyin was furious and wanted to curse, but Third Master Mu left without giving him a chance. Bah, hypocrite. Su Xiangyin was indignant. Lu Yin felt helpless. Because of the tree's innate gift, Mu Xiangyin was too stubborn about him. He suddenly thought of something. Could the wood spacetime be related to Mr. Mu? He had never thought about this before, but what if they were related? Lu Yin was speechless, but even if Mr. Mu had told him about it, he could not be blamed. Brother, do you want to come back with us to take a look? Su Ling invited. Su Heng replied, Tao is not the time. You just passed the void trial and asked Senior Su Wei to guide you. Senior should know by now and might be on his way. Su Ling thought about it and agreed. Lu Yin smiled. Not now, but I'll definitely be there as a guest. All right, then we'll wait. They soon left as well. Su Xiangyin said, I didn't expect you to be so close to them. How long has it been? How did you do it? Lu Yin smiled and explained the situation. It was not complicated, but after a few sentences, Su Xiangyin was stunned. It's that simple? It's that simple. New Year's Eve, 5 in the afternoon. I've done my best, but I haven't been able to write properly for the past 2 days. I want to relax and have a good rest. Tomorrow is the first day of the new year. Thank you for your support, brothers. Chapter 2597. Su Xiangyin laughed. The Void Yang clan and the Void Yin clan have been entangled with each other for a long time, especially the relationship between Su Heng and Su Leng. It's a legend in the Void God universe, and many stories have been written based on them. I didn't expect you to resolve it so easily. Lu Yin replied, actually they just lacked a chance to talk. I just happened to stumble upon it by accident. Many people see the problem more clearly than I do, but I didn't have the chance to help them. Su Xiangyin continued. No matter what, you've resolved the misunderstanding between the Void Yang clan and the Void Yin clan. In the future they'll be your greatest support in the Void God universe. Although they're all in the Void Transformation realm, their combined strength is comparable to a Void Realm cultivator. This means that you'll have a Void Realm backer in the Void God universe. Senior Su Wei Xianxia, and I'll need you to take care of me in the future, huh? Lu Yin smiled bitterly. Senior, please don't joke with me. I still don't know how Senior Su Wei feels about me. Zhou Xian replied, Senior is magnanimous. Although he doesn't like you, he won't do anything to you. Since he's your guide, he'll teach you with all his heart. Don't worry about that. Since when is it your turn to gossip about me, little guy? A voice filled with vicissitudes of life was heard. Zhou Xian was stunned and quickly turned around, only to see Su Wei holding a drink. Junior Zhou Xian greets Senior. Junior Xianxia greets Senior. Su Wei swirled the drink and took a sip before letting out a satisfied sigh. It tastes good. He then waved a hand, stay away. Zhou Xian knew that Su Wei was talking about him and quickly left, leaving only Lu Yin behind. Su Wei landed in front of Lu Yin and circled around him, making him feel uncomfortable. Not bad, kid. You even passed the void gate. You're quite capable, Su Wei praised. Lu Yin bowed. Junior made the decision on his own. Senior, please be my guide. Please don't take offense. Su Wei sneered. Why didn't you become the Void Master's disciple? Lu Yin wanted to say something but stopped himself. You met the Void Master? Su Wei asked. Lu Yin nodded. Su Wei took another sip of his drink. You're hiding your cultivation level and origin. You must be very disappointed, kid. You'll have to cut off your path to becoming a Void Master. Otherwise, your status will instantly reach the level of He Ran and Bai Qian. That's the true apex level. Do you feel uncomfortable now? Lu Yin straightened up. Yes. Su Wei rolled his eyes. You sure are honest. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. I can't hide anything from Senior. It's good that you know, Void 5 said as he took another sip of his drink. With your purpose, isn't it good to be apprenticed to other extremely strong masters? Limitless void is not bad. Why do you have to go against me? Lu Yin replied, this junior hopes to learn from Senior. Su Wei stared into Lu Yin's eyes. No, there's a problem. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat and he calmly met Su Wei's gaze. Su Wei looked at him for a while. Your realm is very high and you're able to reach it at such a young age. You must have a master. Lu Yin's eyes flashed but he didn't say anything. Su Wei continued. Your master is definitely not simple, right? Lu Yin nodded. This junior does have a master. Su Wei sized Lu Yin up again. I don't care who your master is, but I don't think he's at the level of an extreme powerhouse. He Ran wouldn't have let someone like you stay by her side. However, no one else knows that you have a master. Is it a pity that you gave up on becoming an extreme powerhouse's disciple for your master? Lu Yin was solemn. It's not a pity. My master treats me like a son, and it was him who saved my life and allowed me to embark on the path of cultivation. I might as well tell Senior that the reason I didn't become the Void Master's disciple is not because he saw through me. To the Void Master it doesn't matter if I hide or not. Su Wei raised his brows. Lu Yin continued. This junior gave up on becoming the Void Master's disciple because he already has a master. No matter what his cultivation level is, this junior cannot become the disciple of anyone else, even if that person is the Void Master. Su Wei stared at Lu Yin for a while before laughing. Do you think I'll believe that? Lu Yin shrugged. It doesn't matter if Senior believes it or not. That's the truth. Su Wei sneered. Do whatever you want. I'm not your master, just a guide. All I want to do is help you cultivate Void God's force. As for anything else I won't care. You'd better not have any other plans. If you dare to try anything funny I'll be the first to destroy you. Lu Yin nodded, not bothering to bow. In any case it didn't matter. Thank you, Senior. Su Wei smiled and Void God's force suddenly enveloped the surroundings. In that instant the void reversed and Lu Yin almost wanted to resist. Fortunately he managed to hold himself back, but in the face of Su Wei's power, resistance was meaningless. I'll take you to the Void Realm to find a Void God. Lu Yin hurriedly said, this junior has a Void God that can be used as a life-bound Void God. Su Wei stopped and asked curiously, you have a life-bound Void God? Let me take a look. If he could obtain another Void God, Lu Yin would naturally be willing, but the Void Master knew that he had a bone spur and had even given it Void God's force. If he went to the Void Realm to find a Void God, it would be troublesome if the Void Master found out. He could only give up. Lu Yin took out the bone spur and handed it to Su Wei. Su Wei took it and was shocked. He casually tossed it back to Lu Yin. So you've met the Void Master. Lu Yin silently put it away. The Void God's force within that Void God's force is quite terrifying, and it might not be any weaker than mine. It's enough for you to cultivate to the peak. Su Wei looked at Lu Yin. The Void Master thinks highly of you. I hope you don't disappoint him. This junior understands, Lu Yin replied. Su Wei continued. Now I'm starting to believe that you didn't take the Void Master as your master because you already have one. With the Void Master's force that he gave you, he doesn't mind if you hide your cultivation. The moment he saw the bone spur, Su Wei's attitude towards Lu Yin improved. He had confirmed that the Void God's force within the bone spur had come from the Void Master, and since even the Void Master had acknowledged Lu Yin, he had no reason to doubt him. Su Wei brought Lu Yin back to the Void Pass. The tide from before had formed a surging Void God's force, and everyone had been absorbing it, which had attracted even more people. My technique is called the 5 Tastes of Humanity, and it takes too long to learn. You need to wander the world and taste the 5 tastes. You might have encountered many at your age, but it's far from enough to experience the changes in the 5 tastes. Thus, I can only help you absorb Void God's force with a walk. How much you can absorb is up to you. Su Wei was his guide, and this was his duty to help Lu Yin cultivate Void God's force. If it had been an ordinary person, he definitely wouldn't have done this, but Lu Yin's cultivation was close to the peak of the envoys. With his cultivation, it would be much easier to cultivate Void God's force, and his body could handle it. What Lu Yin lacked was the fastest way to cultivate Void God's force. Lu Yin had chosen Su Wei as his guide because he was afraid that the other powerhouses would notice something wrong with him. However, he had never thought that he would make the right move. Su Wei was one of the few powerhouses who could help him cultivate Void God's force the fastest. That walk could cook the 5 tastes of humanity. Both inside and outside the Void Pass, the expressions of those who had been frantically absorbing Void God's force suddenly changed. They sensed that the Void God's force had once again formed a tide that was moving towards the center. Had the Void Pass appeared again? Everyone immediately retreated from the Void Pass, as they didn't know what kind of shocking changes the tide's appearance would bring. However, there were also some who were bold enough to follow the tide, hoping that the newly formed tide's gravity would allow them to become the second person to pass through the Void Pass. At the very least, they could reach the center of the pass. The entire Void Pass once again formed a tide, and the center of the convergence was a walk. Inside the walk was Lu Yin. He had never thought that he would one day be able to cultivate inside a walk. Life was unpredictable, and even fate was difficult to predict. For example, the slipper in his cosmic ring still didn't know who it belonged to. The walk crazily absorbed Void God's force, forming a Void God tide that poured into Lu Yin's body. Lu Yin was like a bottomless abyss, and this rate was much faster than his own absorption. In the distance, Su Wei watched calmly. If not for Lu Yin's high cultivation, this method would not have been suitable. Had this kid chosen him by accident, or had he done so after understanding him? Su Wei fell into deep thought. A few days later, someone saw the walk and was stunned. Gradually, everyone outside realized that a walk was the cause of this Void God tide. What? Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm stupid? How can a walk cause a Void God tide? Is there a walk at the center of the Void Pass? How is that possible? What? I think I've heard of it somewhere before. Senior Su Wei's natal Void God seems to be a walk. The Void Pass's existence can be traced back to the Void Master's era, and Senior Su Wei seems to have interacted with that era. Everyone was speculating about the walk. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Yin crazily absorbed Void God's force within the walk, almost robbing it. The Void God's force on the fates and continent continued to increase in his heart. If it had been a small canal before, it had now become a river. It was very obvious, and it was still increasing. Based on the 5th mainland's cultivation, Lu Yin's Void God's force was equivalent to a peak in lighters. Cultivating Void God's force did not have anything like origin tribulation, and there was no bottleneck. As long as one had the resources and the ability, they could absorb as much as they wanted. This was something that Lu Yin envied. Of all the parallel spacetimes that he knew, only the Genesis space had origin tribulation. Right, there was also the reincarnation spacetime, but he didn't know if it had origin tribulation. Even if it did, the reincarnation spacetime's greatest advantage was that it granted 3 seats for the 9 sages. This was something that the Genesis space could never compare to. Why was it so difficult to become a progenitor in the Genesis space? Lu Yin opened his eyes and scanned his surroundings. He then continued to madly absorb Void God's force. This process took half a year, and Lu Yin spent the entire time within the walk absorbing Void God's force. The river of Void God's force on the fates and continent near his heart was now very wide. Compared to the entire continent, this river of Void God's force practically split the continent in two. It was as if it was going to connect to the heavens and become the Skyfall River. Thank you, brothers, for your continued support. I'll update at 5 p.m. and will continue to update tomorrow. Thank you. Chapter 2598. The strength of the Void God's power in his body was comparable to the fifth main lens, which was equivalent to Lu Yin's own cultivation. Lu Yin had not expected himself to reach such heights in just half a year. This was Su Wuwei's ability, his own ability, and the uniqueness of the Void God spacetime civilization and the coincidental appearance of the Void Pass. If that was the case, if a progenitor from the fifth mainland were to cultivate the power of the Void God, he would be able to reach the Void transformation stage in a very short time with the help of Void Wuwei's power. As for the Void Grand stage, it was an existence that was comparable to the progenitor stage. It was definitely not that simple. Lu Yin stopped, not because he wanted to, but because the Void God's power had disappeared. He looked around and saw that the Void Pass was no different from the other regions of the Void God spacetime. The overflowing Void God's power had disappeared. Had he absorbed it all? That was impossible, as the Void God's power could even push a progenitor away. If he had absorbed it all, he should have reached the virtual realm. Most of it should have spilled out. The pot slowly shrank and returned to Su Wuwei's hand. Lu Yin quickly bowed. Thank you, Senior. Su Wuwei looked at Lu Yin in amazement. I thought that you would be pretty good if you could cultivate to the middle level of the Void Bright realm with this, but you've actually cultivated it to the same level as your own realm. How did you do it? Lu Yin was confused. Isn't it enough to just absorb it? Su Wuwei's mouth twitched. You've misunderstood the Void God civilization. Su Wuwei continued. That's right, there is no bottleneck in Void God's power. You just have to absorb it, but the amount you absorb depends on your own endurance and compatibility with the Void God's power. Do you think that I can use this method to let everyone absorb Void God's power? Then wouldn't the Void God spacetime be invincible? Mass-produced powerhouses? Isn't that fake like the reincarnation spacetime? He paused and then changed the topic. In short, there is a limit to how much Void God's power can be cultivated. That's why the Void God spacetime is especially concerned about talent. That's why Zhou Xian has been keeping an eye on you. Not everyone has the potential to reach the virtual realm. Although the faux god civilization did not have origin calamity, it was still limited by one's innate talent. This was a path that was even more difficult than origin calamity. On the fifth mainland, even if one's innate talent was lacking, there was still a way to continue cultivating. However, cultivating faux god's power was a path that would remain the same for the rest of one's life unless they were reborn. This was a cultivation method that could be seen at its peak. Every civilization had its advantages and disadvantages. The origin space had its own origin tribulation, which was difficult to break through, but wasn't the origin tribulation also a way for people to break through to the next realm? Without the origin tribulation, it would be difficult for the Void God power to break through. They could only rely on their original talent. The reincarnation time and space could bestow the positions of the 3 venerables and 9 saints, but the grand heavenly venerables could be taken back at any time. He couldn't say which one was definitely bad, but neither could he say which one was definitely good. Your talent in the virtual god civilization is so good that it makes people jealous. No wonder Zhou Xian cares about you so much. You're also very smart. You're obsessed with the virtual god civilization instead of going to the wood dimension, Su Wuwei praised. Lu Yin didn't say much about this. He took out his bone spur and sensed the Void God's power within it. I don't know how much power I can use now. Su Wuwei said, that brat Zhou Xian mentioned it before. You can draw on 20 times your own Void God's power. If that's the case. He looked at Lu Yin. You can fight against someone in the Void Transformation realm, which is Zhou Xian's level. Lu Yin was shocked. That's it. As your guide, I've already helped you reach your current realm. You'll have to walk the rest of the path on your own. I'll leave you with a battle technique. I've done my duty and I've done everything I could. If one day I find out that you're using the virtual god spacetime to participate in a battle that transcends spacetime and cause damage to the virtual god spacetime, I'll personally take back everything I've given you. This is what a guide should do. Su Wei raised his hand and Void God's power gathered in his palm. It wasn't an ordinary gathering, but an indescribable condensation of laws. It spread out in all directions, but there were no signs of it spreading. Lu Yin stared at Su Wei's palm. This wasn't a simple gathering of Void God's power. He watched as the power formed a sphere, but there was a constant flow of Void God's power within it that connected to the void. Lu Yin's expression changed. This was the feeling of space. If he hadn't obtained the innate gift of space, he definitely wouldn't have been able to tell. Even if he had mastered the secret of strategy retraction, he still wouldn't have been able to see the changes in the space in Su Wei's palm. Now, however, he could see that the Void God's power was faintly spreading along the lines of space into the endless distance. It was as if the monotonous lines of space had been dyed with color. Lu Yin looked at Su Wei in shock. This person could control space. Don't think that we, the Void God civilization, fight by drawing the Void God's power and hiding behind it. In reality, the Void God civilization's battle methods are no less than any other civilizations. The number of times you can draw Void God's power in battle only represents the amount of Void God's power you can use. The real deciding factor of how much Void God's power you can use is the battle technique. After Su Wei finished speaking, a sphere formed from Void God's power appeared in his palm. Countless strands of Void God's power rotated within it, and even Lu Yin couldn't see through it clearly. At the same time, strands of Void God's power extended out, as if drawing a square drawing for the starry sky. This was a square drawing that couldn't be seen by the naked eye. Only those who could see Void God's power could see it. However, ordinary people wouldn't be able to tell that this wasn't a complete Void God's power. Instead, it was the materialization of spatial lines with Void God's power. Lu Yin was shocked. He finally understood how powerful this old man was. This old man could materialize space for ordinary people to see and control space. Even with Lu Yin's innate gift of wood, he couldn't do it. It would take a long time to cultivate, but this old man had done it. He covered the space with Void God's power, creating an unparalleled visual impact. At the same time, in the distance, Su Wuji was looking for a place to relax. Suddenly, his expression changed as a square drawing of Void God's power appeared around him. He froze in place, not daring to move. This was Senior Su Wei's power. This checkered painting shocked him too deeply. Not only him, but anyone who had seen Su Wei in action suddenly saw this checkered painting. They subconsciously stood still and could not move. If they moved, they would most likely die. Su Wuji swallowed and slowly turned to look in the direction of the Void Pass. Senior, don't scare me. The Great Path is simple. This battle technique is called Tai Spin. Su Wei's expression was solemn. The sphere of Void God's power in his palm flowed along the square drawing, sometimes disappearing and sometimes reappearing. In the Tai Spin domain, no one can avoid this technique. I once used this technique to kill an extreme powerhouse of the Eternals. Lu Yin was shocked. This was another person who had killed a progenitor. Ruthless. Today I'll teach you the Tai Spin domain as a reward for passing the Void Pass and not forcing me to become your master. I'll also teach you as a guide. Xianxia, I hope you don't disappoint me. I don't want to personally use Tai Spin to kill you one day. Su Wei grabbed Lu Yin and flung him away. Lu Yin's body continued to travel along the square drawing, experiencing the Tai Spin domain. Su Wei watched calmly, passing on the Tai Spin domain. This was already the treatment of a personal disciple, and it seemed like he was treating Lu Yin very well. Lu Yin traveled through the Tai Spin domain, feeling the effects of Void God's power on the lines of space. He knew that Su Wei seemed to treat him extremely well and was extremely benevolent, but would passing on the Tai Spin domain be of any use? It was meaningless. If Lu Yin hadn't obtained an innate gift of wood, how could he have learned the Tai Spin domain? This was the power of space. Even if he learned how to gather Void God's power, how could he use it on the lines of space? Even if Su Wei personally taught him, it would be useless. Su Wei had done it on purpose, using a profound technique to complete the last step as a guide. In reality, he hadn't taught Lu Yin anything, including his own technique, the 5 tastes of humanity. Lu Yin exhaled. He couldn't blame Su Wei as their positions were different. From Su Wei's point of view, Lu Yin was helping Bai Qian deal with He-Ran, and it was very likely that he would use the Void God's spacetime to interfere with hyperspace. Even if Su Wei didn't care, Lu Yin would still use his own methods to reduce the impact. Now that he was passing on the Tai spin domain, outsiders would only envy him, and no one would understand Su Wui's intentions. However, the only thing that Su Wei had missed was that Lu Yin could see the lines of space and understand the principles behind the Tai spin domain. Su Wei's teachings weren't about battle techniques, but rather how to use the lines of space. In the past, Lu Yin had only been able to manipulate lines to teleport. Now, however, he could apply his power to the lines and achieve a battle technique that ignored distance. This included but was not limited to Tai Chi spin. He could use any external power including swordplay, death energy and even battle force. Su Wei had opened a new door for him. Su Wei couldn't have imagined that he would actually help Lu Yin even though he had clearly been fooling him. He was a very qualified guide. Lu Yin traveled through the Tai spin domain for more than half a month before stopping. When he saw Su Wei, the first thing he said was, "This junior doesn't understand." Su Wei was satisfied, but his expression remained calm. The Tai spin domain isn't that easy to learn. Do you know how many people in the Void God civilization want to learn this battle technique? This includes the ultimate Void and Void Towardsine that you've seen. Who doesn't want to learn it? They don't have this opportunity, so you have to cherish it. Lu Yin was grateful. This junior understands. I don't think highly of you, but I'm just doing my duty as a guide. You have to remember my words. This junior understands. Su Wei glanced at Lu Yin and his lips curled up. It was quite interesting to play around with juniors. Find a place to cultivate and try your best to recall the feeling of traveling through the Tai spin domain. I'm going to the battlefield and I hope that you'll have improved the next time we meet. Lu Yin raised a brow. Improved? Could he? Once he improved, wouldn't this old man die of anger? Senior, you're going to the battlefield? Thank you, brothers, for your continued support. I'll update more tomorrow. Thank you. Happy New Year's Eve. Chapter 2599. Su Wei's gaze darkened. The pressure on the Eternals is increasing, and they won't give up on the Six-Way Society's territory. Otherwise, it'll be difficult for them to fight their way out of the endless battlefield. I'm going to take action and you'll definitely have to go to the front lines. Senior, can you let me locate the Void God spacetime? I belong to the Void God spacetime now, and if I end up in a parallel spacetime one day, I hope to find my way back. Su Wei looked at him and nodded. Sure. The next day he brought Lu Yin to the spatial coordinates. The spatial coordinates were branded with the auras of many people, and it was probably used by outsiders to find the Void God spacetime. Lu Yin had also left his own mark on it. Currently he could only go to the Three Monarchs spacetime, the Void God spacetime and the Six-Way training grounds. He couldn't go to the others yet as the cost of using his Lotus treasure was too great. Su Wei left and went to the battlefield. Lu Yin frowned. If Su Wei went to the battlefield, the pressure on the Six-Way Society would increase, and the pressure would be transferred to the Genesis space. He tore through the void and left, returning to the Eternal Kingdom. He wanted to return to the Above Sky sect, but he suddenly remembered that Mu Jun was still imprisoned here. It had been some time since she had been imprisoned here, and although it hadn't been long, he could still meet her. Lu Yin's figure flashed and entered the underground, where the deathly aura pervaded. The Thunder Sealers lived on the surface of the Eternal Kingdom, and they couldn't enter the underground. It was precisely because of the deathly aura that Mu Jun was trapped here. The current Mu Jun was the same as the last time Lu Yin had seen her. After all, it hadn't been that long, and for a progenitor, thousands of years were like the blink of an eye. Mu Jun didn't say anything when she saw Lu Yin arrive. She just looked at him. Let me tell you some good news. I've asked for reinforcements from the Three Monarchs spacetime, Lu Yin said. Mu Jun wasn't surprised. The Six-Way Society forced you? Lu Yin nodded. Yes. Mu Jun was expressionless. I suggested working with you to deal with the four-way scales in the Genesis space while preserving your own strength, but you didn't agree. At that time, I knew that the Six-Way Society would do everything they could to force you to help the Three Monarchs spacetime. They won't let the Three Monarchs spacetime be destroyed, nor will they watch you grow. If that's the case, wouldn't you be an enemy of the Six-Way Society? Lu Yin asked with interest. Your enemy is the reincarnation spacetime and divine sovereign Xiaoyin, not us. Lu Yin's eyes went wide. The Xiaoyin divinity? Mu Jun sneered. Didn't you infiltrate the Six Paths sect to investigate? Don't tell me you haven't found out that it was Supreme Divinity Xiaoyin who suggested putting all the blame on the Lu clan? Lu Yin stared coldly at Mu Jun. Mu Jun laughed. It seems like you really don't know. Other than the 3 monarch universes, the rest of the 6 Direction Society hates the primordial space. It's because the primordial space didn't eradicate the everlasting race during the most glorious era and allowed them to grow. This resentment has always been suppressed, and in the end, it was all attributed to the Lu family through the mouth of the Shaoyin deity. Now that the Lu family has long been exiled and disappeared, the resentment that has been passed down since ancient times is gone. Other than a limited number of people, no one will target the primordial space anymore. But what if I want to bring her back to the Lu family? Mu Jun's eyes widened. What do you mean welcome back to the Lu clan? He looked at her deeply. What if I want revenge? Mu Jun felt like she had heard something incredible. Does the Lu family still exist? Lu Yin replied, I don't know, but I will definitely take revenge. If you work with me, would you dare to offend Supreme Divinity Shaoyin? Mu Jun said, Dao Master Lu, I thought you were smart, but you chose the stupidest path. Revenge? Who? Supreme Divinity Shaoyin? Or a Grand Empyrean? No matter who it is, you won't be able to do it. No matter how high your cultivation is, how talented you are, or how many people help you, you can't surpass a Grand Empyrean. As long as a Grand Empyrean exists, the Supreme Divinity Shaoyin won't be someone you can touch. Besides, the Supreme Divinity Shaoyin is extremely strong and can fight against an expert like the Forgotten Ruins deity by himself. I advise you not to think about revenge. I want to live, and so do you. Let go of your hatred. The Lu family's grievances have already ended. Your current achievements are enough to create a second Lu family. There's no need to throw away your life. The power of a Grand Empyrean is not something you can imagine. Lu Yin thought about it for a long time. Maybe you're right. I should let go of my hatred. Mu Jun sighed. It's good that you've thought it through. Lu Yin looked at Mu Jun and suddenly smiled. I didn't say anything wrong. What you heard was what I said. It was a strange sentence, but Mu Jun understood what he meant. However, she couldn't. What do you mean? Lu Yin stared into her eyes. I said that I want to bring you back to the Lu family. Mu Jun frowned. The Lu family is no more. It's still here. Mu Jun's expression sank. You're messing with me. Lu Yin smiled. You're the one who's messing with me. You clearly understood what I meant, but you still advised me to let go of my hatred and cooperate with you. If I let you go, you'll probably go to the reincarnation spacetime and leak the secret. Nonsense, the Lu family definitely doesn't exist. The Grand Empyrean personally threw the Lu family to the Eternals. How could the Lu family still be alive? Mu Jun tried her best to defend herself, trying to use this method to prove that she was telling the truth. Lu Yin shook his head. A dignified progenitor playing tricks just to survive. How sad. Mu Jun's expression darkened. What do you want? Lu Yin said bluntly, I want to replace the 3 monarchs and become one of the 6 direction associations. Mu Jun seemed to have heard something unbelievable. What did you say? You don't believe me. Mu Jun's eyes flickered. Are you crazy? How could the 6 direction associations accept your primordial space? Even if the 3 monarchs are gone, your primordial space will never become one of the 6 direction associations. Never. Then let's try. I don't believe that there's anything impossible in this universe, Lu Yin said with a cold gaze. Either you help me become one of the 6 direction associations, or you'll be imprisoned here for the rest of your life. I guarantee that no one will be able to find you. The 6 direction associations will never accept the primordial space. Never. Mu Jun screamed, but her voice gradually faded away. Lu Yin walked to the surface and saw Luo Lauer, Feng Lei and Guanqin in front of him. When they saw Lu Yin, they bowed. Greetings, Pathmaster. It was obvious that they had adapted to their new positions, especially Feng Lei and Guanqin. They looked at Lu Yin the same way they looked at the 3 monarchs. Even Mu Jun had been captured, so perhaps Lu Yin was even more terrifying than the 3 monarchs. Lu Yin grunted. Clan leader Feng Lei, you should be very familiar with the 3 monarch situation. Lightning Seal Guanqin replied, Yes, sect master. Lu Yin nodded. Write down all the important people from the 3 monarch spacetimes. Their relationships, situations and relationships with the outside must all be written down. Feng Lei's tone became even more respectful. Yes, Pathmaster. He could tell that Lu Yin was going to make a move against the 3 monarch spacetimes. Only Lord Luo and Lord Taixian were left in the three monarchs' spacetimes. They couldn't even assemble the three monarchs' great formation, so it wasn't impossible for Lu Yin to deal with them. The situation was very complicated. The three monarchs wanted to join forces with the four-way scales to divide the primordial space. Lu Yin had secretly captured Mu Jun to deal with the three monarchs, and the six direction associations had explicitly prohibited anyone from entering the primordial space. Lu Yin didn't plan on thinking about any of these situations, so he handed them over to Wang Wen. Luo Lauer raised a hand and asked carefully, "Brother-in-law, what can I do?" Lu Yin looked at Luo Lauer. "What do you want to do?" Luo Lauer and Feng Lei Guanqin exchanged glances and mustered their courage. "Brother-in-law, do you have any plans to deal with hyperspace?" Lu Yin was astonished. He had thought that Luo Lauer would have some sort of request or that he would have some understanding of the three monarchs' spacetimes. He hadn't expected Luo Lauer to directly mention hyperspace. "So what if I do and so what if I don't? Can you still help me?" Luo Lauer looked at Lu Yin with a resolute gaze. "Yes." Lu Yin raised a brow. A mere hostage could actually help him deal with hyperspace. "You might not believe me, brother-in-law," Luo Lauer coughed and said solemnly. "Do you know why I'm so well informed? When I first met you, you and Zijing had just arrived at hyperspace, but I was the first to receive the news." Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. If Luo Lauer hadn't mentioned it, he wouldn't have thought of it. That's right, he and Zijing had just arrived at hyperspace, and only a limited number of people from the council knew about it in such a short amount of time. It couldn't have spread the news, and Zijing's whereabouts were considered top secret in hyperspace. If Luo Lauer hadn't leaked the news at the start, no one would have known about it. Luo Lauer didn't hide it. "The reason I received the news so quickly was because I bought it. Actually, with my wealth, even if I didn't receive the resources from the Lightning Ceiling clan, I wouldn't have been so stingy. Most of my resources were used to buy the information. The person who sells the information can find out anything from the council's evaluation, Zijing's return, the latest research on cultivation techniques and so on. The price varies, and if you want to deal with hyperspace, this information seller will definitely be of help." Lu Yin was curious. "Who's the seller?" Luo Lauer replied, "I don't know. He's very cautious and never reveals his identity. He doesn't even have a code name. I was only able to contact him by chance. No one else can contact him." Lu Yin asked Luo Lauer to tell him how to contact this person, and it turned out that Luo Lauer was right. The conversation and the delivery of resources had all come from this information seller. This was a platform built on a dark green frame, and no one other than Luo Lauer could use it since it was bound to his identity. "Does this person really know a lot of information?" Lu Yin was interested. Luo Lauer assured him, "He's the most complete seller. He's never made a mistake and he's very fast." Lu Yin's eyes flickered. "How do I get him to take the initiative to trade with me?" Luo Lauer replied, "I can try, but I don't know if he'll be willing. Even if I do, I'll have to do it in hyperspace." "Wait for a while," Lu Yin said. For now he couldn't deal with hyperspace. Hyperspace was a huge and complicated place and he wasn't completely in the dark. Su Wei already knew some things, and even if Lu Yin had purposely let him know, he had no choice. He had to be careful when dealing with hyperspace, and the ruler that Bai Qian had mentioned was the most troublesome. "In the new year, I wish all of you a bright future and a bright future. I'll update at 2 p.m. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2600. Soon after, he left the Eternal Kingdom and returned to the Fifth Mainland. The first thing he did was head to the home of the gods. It was almost time for the transaction, and more than half a year had passed since they'd agreed on it. A few days after Lu Yin's arrival, Kujian arrived with Zijing in tow. This was the condition that they had previously agreed upon. The home of the gods would only trade with Zijing, which was an obvious way to increase Zijing's influence. Although hyperspace was well aware of this, he did not reject it. Zijing was He-Ran's subordinate, and He-Ran had always cared about her. It didn't matter whether this condition was added or not, since these resources were meant for Zijing anyway. In the home of the gods, a transaction that transcended spacetime took place without anyone's knowledge. There were only 5 people present: Tai Yishan, Mirror God, Kujian and Zijing. They all knew that if this transaction was leaked, it would have a huge impact and attract the attention of the 6 directional associations. That's right. Zijing confirmed the transaction, and Ku Jian generously gave Mirror God a blue energy source. Mirror God was confused and looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin explained, "Senior, this is an energy source from the hyperspace organization. Wearing it will allow you to unleash an attack with a power level of nearly 1,000,000. Million? Mirror God gasped. He was only a third tribulation origin cultivator, which meant that his combat power was over 700,000. Violet deity had been the same back then, and the strongest cultivator in the home of the gods had always been Candle God, who had the combat power of an emissary. Now he looked at the blue energy source. How could this thing give him such power? Ku Jian was very satisfied with Mirror God's attitude. From his point of view, this was both ignorance and respect. "Xianxia, you didn't tell them about the energy source?" "Not yet," Lu Yin replied. "Then I'll tell them myself." Ku Jian adjusted his words and told Mirror God and Tai Yishan about the energy source. The two were dumbfounded. Such a thing was possible? Then what was the point of their cultivation? "I already told you that the hyperspace organization is much stronger than you. As long as we're willing, that Lu Yin won't dare to do anything to you," Ku Jian said solemnly. Lu Yin smiled and looked at Ku Jian before looking back at Mirror God. The Mirror God stared blankly at Ku Jian. He was shocked by the power of the energy source, but these words were too arrogant. Even the Dao Master was plotting against him. "Senior, didn't we agree to gather resources for transdimensional, and transdimensional will take us away? If we have enough resources, they'll even give us a spot in the home of the gods. But what about this energy source?" The Mirror God was in a dilemma. Ku Jian replied, "I'm giving it to you so that you can protect yourselves." The Mirror God subconsciously looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin quickly replied, "Senior, there are many energy sources like this that Senior Ku Jian doesn't care about. If you gather more resources next time, he might be able to provide you with an even better energy source, allowing you to reach the peak of an emissary's power." Ku Jian did not mind. "It's nothing." Mirror God and Tai Yishan immediately expressed their gratitude. Both sides were very satisfied with this transaction, and Lu Yin also took the opportunity to speak with Zijing alone. Of course, this was for Ku Jian's benefit. After all, in Hyperspace's mind, they were still in that kind of relationship. "How's Bai Qian?" Lu Yin asked. Zijing leaned in close and whispered, "Not too good. She's not from hyperspace and there aren't many people who support her. Only a few people in the council support her, and now that she's gone missing, he took the opportunity to make a move. No one in the council supports her anymore." Lu Yin fell silent. The council seemed to be the most powerful group in hyperspace. In reality, they were puppets that hyperspace's ruler used to select people. Their true purpose was not to manage hyperspace, but to choose between He Ran and Bai Qian to be the winner. Bai Qian had been able to gain the support of a few people in just a few short decades, but she had lost everything after going missing. On the surface, it seemed like He Ran would definitely win. "What's going on?" Zijing asked. Lu Yin replied, "Don't worry about it. Focus on your cultivation techniques. That's your only way out. I'll take care of Bai Qian." Zijing nodded and naturally rested her head on his shoulder. Ku Jian took in the entire scene. The two didn't talk for long before Ku Jian came looking for them. "Xianxia, I have something to tell you." Zijing nodded to Lu Yin. Lu Yin walked towards Ku Jian. Ku Jian apologized to Zijing. "Time is limited this time. I'll make sure to let you stay longer next time." Zijing smiled. "It's fine." Ku Jian smiled and led Lu Yin to the other side. His goal was simple: to ask about Lu Yin's recent situation in the Void God's spacetime. He was very concerned about Lu Yin. Lu Yin briefly explained what had happened in the Void God's spacetime, but Ku Jian had a different feeling when he heard it. "You passed the Void trial?" Ku Jian was shocked. Lu Yin nodded. "Yes, it was very difficult. Fortunately, I passed it." Ku Jian sized Lu Yin up. He had only wanted to ask, but he hadn't expected to hear such shocking news. "Senior, you don't know?" Lu Yin was puzzled. This had happened more than half a year ago, and Ku Jian was someone in hyperspace who could use the power of a half-ancestor. How could he not know? Ku Jian smiled bitterly. "I haven't been paying attention to what's going on outside. I've been guarding the energy research team and they're always discussing cultivation techniques. There's no news from the outside world." Lu Yin understood. Lady He Ran should know. "Of course," Ku Jian replied, then looked at Lu Yin strangely. This kid was becoming more and more abnormal. He had passed through the Void Gate, and with Senior Su Wei as his guide as well as Zhou Xian, his influence in the Void God spacetime would only grow. This meant that Lord He Ran's plan might actually come true. Xianxia, the primordial space, can help us obtain some resources, but we can't just rely on it. Although hyperspace doesn't care about Lu Yin, he still has the final say in the primordial space. So, do you have any way to help us gather resources in the Void God spacetime? Ku Jian asked. This was his goal, and it was also what He Ran had instructed him to do. Lu Yin fell into deep thought. Ku Jian said, Zhou Xian's family has quite a bit of influence in the Void God spacetime. You can consider this. Lu Yin didn't understand. Senior Zhou Xian's family? That's right. I heard that you have a good relationship with Zhou Xian. You don't know his family? Ku Jian was puzzled. Lu Yin shook his head. Senior, you said that he's a wandering cultivator. Ku Jian said, Zhou Xian was a loose cultivator, but after he reached the Void Transformation realm, he was roped in by a family called the Jingyun family. A long time ago, a virtual Tai realm expert was born, and their influence expanded to almost half of the virtual God universe. I heard that at that time, even Senior Su Wei often visited the Jingyun family as a guest. However, after that virtual Tai realm expert died in battle, the Jingyun family plummeted, especially 100 years ago when the Jingyun family's old patriarch died, causing the Jingyun family's direct descendants to not have a single Void Transformation realm expert. Zhou Xian is very important to the Jingyun family. Although the Jingyun family is weak now, their influence in the Void God spacetime is still very influential. Many people have received favors from them. If we can establish a connection with the Jingyun family, it won't be difficult to gather resources. Lu Yin looked at Ku Jian. This guy had done a lot. A person from spacetime who knew so much about the Void God spacetime definitely wouldn't have found out in just 1 or 2 days. During the time that Zijing had gone missing, spacetime hadn't done nothing. They had organized all the resources needed for the research of the sequence particles. In other words, they had never given up on Zijing and believed that they would definitely find her. To them, Zijing's disappearance was more like a vacation than a loss. Lu Yin sighed. I understand. I'll look for the Jingyun family once I return to the Void God spacetime. Go find Zhou Xian first. With him leading the way, the Jingyun family will treat you like an honored guest, Ku Jian reminded him. Right, what about the Void Yang and Void Yin families? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Ku Jian was puzzled. Why are you asking about them? Do you know about them? Lu Yin also told him about his encounter with Su Heng and Su Leng. When he finished, Ku Jian's eyes lit up. You have a good relationship with them? Yes, I have a good relationship with big brother Su Heng and big sister Su Leng. Ku Jian was delighted. That's great. Xianxia, do you know of a resource that can only be produced at the intersection of the Void Yang and Void Yin families? We've tried our best to make deals with the 2 clans, but there's something wrong with the 2 clans. If one side agrees, the other side will destroy it. We've tried to make deals with both clans at the same time, but they refused. Even now, we still can't reach an agreement. You actually have connections with these 2 clans? Lu Yin raised his brows, feeling like he had stepped on the right spot. This was getting interesting. Wait, I'll immediately report to Lord He Ran. Wait here. Ku Jian was impatient and immediately returned with Zijing. Mirror God shook his head when he saw this. This guy was actually acting like this in front of the Dao Lord. He was definitely going to be taken advantage of. Mirror God, Lu Yin said. Mirror God hurriedly stepped forward. Dao Lord. Lu Yin said, after a few trades we'll visit the hyperspace domain. There's no harm in acting arrogant. Although we're surprised by the hyperspace domain's power, we're not bad either. The rune progenitor's power can be created from nothing and no one can compare to it. But with this little one's strength, it'll be difficult to use rune lines outside of this region. Mirror God was troubled. Lu Yin was stunned. That made sense as he had only been able to use rune lines because of the Candle God. Without the Candle God's rune lines, he wouldn't have been able to use the Aeon Evolution True Scripture without being enveloped by rune lines. Don't worry, the hyperspace domain needs resources. Just treat yourself as a future member of the decision-making team. He then chatted with Tai Yishan for a while. He treated Tai Yishan differently than he treated Mirror God, but he couldn't return to the way he had when they had first met. After all, Tai Yishan's status was completely different now. On the 3rd day, Ku Jian arrived, but he didn't bring Zijing with him. Xianxia, Lord Hiran hopes that you can help us search for a resource that can only be produced at the intersection of the Void Yang and Void Yin families. It's called two-colored soil, Kujian said. Lu Yin replied, this junior is willing to help. Kujian replied, we won't let you help us for free. He then raised his hand and took out a white energy source that was similar to the one he used himself. Could display the power of a half-ancestor. On New Year's Eve and the first day of the new year, Windborn was writing. He wanted to have a good rest, but his habits didn't allow him to. Thank you for your support, brothers. Chapter 2601. Lu Yin was shocked. This was a white energy source? It seemed that the two-colored soil was very important. As long as you can get us 5 tons of two-colored soil, this white energy source will be yours. You know how valuable it is, and once you use it you'll be able to fight me, Kujian said passionately. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. I don't know when I'll be able to use it. I'm more than happy to help Lady Hiran. Kujian passed the white energy source to Lu Yin. This is a request from Lord Hiran. You must accept this white energy source. Lu Yin knew that if he didn't accept it they wouldn't be at ease. Of course he was willing to have another white energy source. Even if he didn't need it he could give it to someone else. Thank you, senior. Please help me thank Lady Hiran. Kujian nodded. When are you going to the Void God dimension? Very soon, Lu Yin replied. Kujian reminded him, in this dimension you have an enemy like Lu Yin, so try not to be too conspicuous. Lu Yin nodded. I understand, senior, don't worry. Kujian nodded and patted Lu Yin's shoulder. Don't worry, Lady Hiran said that as long as it's possible in the future, she'll help you deal with Lu Yin and take back everything that belongs to you. With your influence in the Void God dimension and Lady Hiran's support, perhaps the Genesis space will be yours in the future. Lu Yin was speechless. It was his to begin with. I understand, thank you, Lady Hiran. Kujian left, thinking that his offer would definitely tempt Lu Yin. Taishan was looking forward to the future. His expression when he found out that Xianxia was Lu Yin would definitely be interesting. Lu Yin returned to the above sky sect and left for the Void God dimension after learning about what had happened in the past half a year. There was no need for him to go to the 6th Direction Training Hall. When he arrived at the Void God dimension, Lu Yin found a cultivator to confirm the location of the Void Yang and Void Yin clans before heading there. The Void God dimension covered a large area, and the Void Yang and Void Yin clans were close together. They were obviously in conflict with each other, but they still insisted on staying together. What was even stranger was that due to the two clans' cultivation, the celestial phenomena of the two clans were completely different. The Void Yang clan was as hot as fire, and even space was distorted by the high temperature. Giant fiery red planets spread out, and ordinary people who looked at them would feel pain in their eyes. On the other hand, the Void Yin tribe was covered in darkness. An icy power swept through the starry sky. It was like wind, but it wasn't wind. When it swept through, it could cut through the void. Looking from afar, the two races were in completely opposite states. There was a line in the middle that completely separated the heat and the cold. Lu Yin looked ahead. The resources that hyperspace needed should be on the line that completely separated the two races. It looked like a line, but the closer he got, the more he realized that it was also a majestic mountain range. The mountain range in the starry sky had a strange dark red color with a hint of grayish-white. It should be the two-colored soil. No one is allowed to enter the Void Yang clan's territory without permission. The voice was low, and it came from a fiery red planet not too far away. As the voice approached, ripples spread out and scorched the void. Junior Xianxia requests an audience with clan leader Su Heng. Xianxia? A pair of eyes opened on the fiery red planet. It was a man. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Lu Yin. You're Xianxia? Lu Yin looked at the newcomer who was at the Void Radiant Realm. His void spirit power compared to the 5th mainlands, which meant that he was at the 6th Tribulation origin stage. No such a powerhouse was guarding the door. Junior is indeed Xianxia, Lu Yin replied politely. The man hurriedly smiled. You're not a junior. You're the clan leader's brother and an honored guest of the Void Yang clan. My name is Su Ji. Lord Xianxia, please. Lu Yin was flattered. Senior, please don't call me that. I wouldn't dare. Su Ji replied, there's no need to be so polite and there's no need to call me senior. Just call me Su Ji. Su Ji then led Lu Yin into the Void Yang clan, his attitude very warm. After entering the Void Yang clan's territory, the light became even more dazzling. The heat from the planet made everything fiery red. Su Ji waved a hand and used his void spirit power to block the heat. Lord Xianxia, the clan leader, is currently discussing an alliance with the Void Yin tribe. Please come with me. Lu Yin was curious. Alliance? Yes, our Void Yang clan and the Void Yin clan have been passed down to Master Su Yi since ancient times, but they split up for some reason. Half a year ago, the two clan leaders returned and suddenly decided to join forces. They planned to reunite the two clans, Su Ji explained. Lu Yin was curious. I've heard that the Void Spirit Spacetime says that the two clans will become very powerful if they join forces. Su Ji smiled. It's not that easy. Our Void Yang clan listens to the clan leader, but there are some fellows in the Void Yin clan who are outwardly obedient. They seem willing on the surface, but they're actually causing trouble behind our backs. It's quite a headache. Lu Yin followed Su Ji to the mountain that separated the two clans. It was called the Dual-Colored Mountain, and the name was simple to understand. Dual-Colored Mountain, Dual-Colored Earth. Not long after, Lu Yin saw many people from the two clans gathered together. They seemed to be fighting, but they also seemed to be sparring. It was very lively. Ah, Brother Xianxia, you're finally here. Su Heng laughed as he walked over, attracting the attention of many people. Lu Yin smiled as well. How could I not come when Big Brother invited me? It's good that you're here. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, but you were cultivating with Senior Su Wei, so I didn't want to disturb you. I even forgot to give you my contact details. The Void Yang clan is very famous in the Void Spirit Spacetime, so you can easily find out. Elsewhere, Su Leng had arrived as well, and when he saw Lu Yin he scolded, Brother Xianxia, why didn't you come from my Void Yin clan? It seems like you're still biased towards Big Brother Su Heng. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. Big sister, don't joke about me. I just happen to be in the Void Yang clan. You can enter from the Void Yang clan, but you have to visit my Void Yin clan first. Otherwise you'll be biased. Leng, you want to fight over this? Of course. Ha brother, I won't make things difficult for you. Let's visit the Void Yin clan first. Lu Yin laughed. Whatever. Since you're already here, you won't be able to run away. Haha. In the distance, some people were discussing, who's that kid? He's received by the two clan leaders as soon as he arrived. I've never seen them so enthusiastic. That's right. The two clan leaders' changes should be related to that kid. Are you talking about the kid who broke through the void gate? That's him. Some people stared coldly at Lu Yin. The conflict between the two clans was bad for some, but it could benefit others. Now that Lu Yin had ruined everything, it was only natural that some people were unhappy. Soon Lu Yin was led by Su Leng to visit the Void Yin clan and then the Void Yang clan. This tour lasted for several days. Lu Yin also felt the same way. He was affected by the atmosphere between the two clans. The Void Yang clan was harmonious. Although Su Heng was restricted by the clan in many ways, his management style was recognized by the clan. On the other hand, Su Leng was cold and ruthless, and he suppressed the Void Yin clan to the point that they did not dare to make a sound. He even dared to casually give away void gods. However, there were undercurrents within the clan. Lu Yin could already sense many malicious gazes. He guessed that many people were unhappy with him. Come brother, have a taste of the delicacies unique to our two clans. Su Heng handed Lu Yin a 3-meter-tall corn-like object. It looked like corn and its seeds were golden yellow. However, if one looked closely, they would see that the insides were dark red with a tinge of gray, just like the color of the two colored mountains. Lu Yin was amazed and he plucked one of the seeds and put it in his mouth. He bit down and the explosive texture spread throughout his mouth. It was filled with a rich aroma and it even had a smoky and fiery taste. However, it was ice cold when it entered his stomach. Delicious. Haha. Su Heng laughed. Su Leng said, this is a delicacy only produced by the two colored mountains. You won't be able to eat it anywhere else. If you like it, we'll give you a batch. I guarantee that you'll have enough. Lu Yin hugged the corn and gnawed on it. Then it would be impolite of me to refuse. I'll give you as many as you have. Ha, as long as brother likes it, Su Heng laughed. It was obvious that they were truly happy. Aside from the corn, the two clans had other delicacies as well as drinks brewed from the corn. The taste was even richer and Lu Yin drank so much that he asked for a batch to take away. Brother, I heard that the alliance between the two clans isn't going well? Lu Yin asked after he had eaten and drunk to his heart's content. Su Heng and Su Leng exchanged glances before looking at Lu Yin. It's a bit troublesome, but it can be resolved. It's just a matter of time. Lu Yin nodded and didn't say anything else. If I'm not wrong, brother, you must be here for something, Su Heng asked as he stared at Lu Yin. Su Leng replied, if there's anything, just say it. Our clans will do our best to help. Just say the word, brother. Lu Yin smiled. Two-colored soil. Is it for sale? The two were shocked. What do you want it for? Lu Yin didn't hide anything. There should be others who want to buy it besides me. Su Heng's eyes flashed. There is a group of people who are deliberately hiding their identities, but we've found out that they're from the Hyperspace Alliance. Lu Yin spoke frankly. The Hyperspace Alliance wants to buy it. Su Heng waved his hand. Take whatever you want. Generally speaking, Lu Yin had met them during the Void Trials and helped them. Now he had even helped Hyperspace purchase the two-colored soil, which made it easy for others to assume that he had approached the two races under Hyperspace's instructions. However, Lu Yin had passed the Void Trials, which was a different story. This meant that Lu Yin's true goal was to pass the Void Trials, and not to approach the two races. Otherwise, he would have been able to pass the Void Trials by accident. How could the Void Trials have blocked countless cultivators over the years, and even extreme powerhouses had been blocked outside? Su Leng replied, generally speaking, we don't sell much two-colored soil, but if you want it, just take it. There's no need to buy it. Take as much as you want. Lu Yin smiled. That won't do. This is a business transaction and you're just the middleman. The one who wants to buy it is the Hyperspace Alliance. Lu Yin's expression turned solemn. Don't worry about my face. Sell it however you want. Su Heng and Su Leng were confused, not understanding what Lu Yin meant. Thank you for your support, brothers. In the new year we must make a fortune and let Sui Feng bask in the glory. Thank you. Chapter 2602. Lu Yin continued, Bro, you should know that although I'm from hyperspace, I'm not from hyperspace. I don't have any special relationship with hyperspace. If buying the two-colored soil will affect the Void Yang tribe and the Void Yin tribe, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. If it doesn't, then we can trade normally. Just treat it as doing hyperspace a favor. As for the Void Yang tribe and the Void Yin tribe, if you can make a profit, then just give me some more drinks. Su Heng laughed. I understand. I know what to do. In front of Lu Yin, the two decided to trade the two-colored soil to hyperspace. However, after Lu Yin went to rest, they faced some trouble. The root of the problem was that hyperspace had caused many conflicts when they had first bought the two-colored soil. The Void Yang tribe had agreed to sell it, but the Void Yin tribe had caused trouble. The Void Yin tribe had agreed to sell it, but the Void Yang tribe had been dissatisfied. In the end, hyperspace had been unable to purchase the two-colored soil. Now hyperspace had suddenly decided to sell it to them. The conflict had not been resolved yet, and it had only been temporarily suppressed. Now many other problems had erupted. Su Heng was fine as his tribe trusted him. After weighing the pros and cons, they did not cause any trouble. However, the Void Yin tribe was in complete conflict. Tribe leader, both of our tribes said that we wouldn't sell the two-colored soil to them, but now we're selling it. How will we face them? Who will care about what we say in the future? An old woman from the Void Yin tribe said with a heavy tone. Her face was full of vicissitudes. Someone else said, We've fought with the Void Yang tribe several times because of the two-colored soil. My grandson was severely injured and can't cultivate anymore. If we suddenly sell the soil to hyperspace, then what's the point of everything we've done? That's right, tribe leader. We don't agree with this. There's also the matter of allying with the Void Yang tribe. Su Leng's expression was cold as she scanned the crowd. She suddenly released her Void God's power, forming a power that only those from the Void God civilization could see. It felt like the sky was collapsing as it pressed down on the crowd. In an instant, the Void Yin tribe situation changed. On the other side of Two-Colored Mountain, Lu Yin, who had been talking to Su Heng, suddenly looked over. What's this? Su Heng sighed. It's here again. If she continues to suppress us like this, there'll be problems sooner or later. Lu Yin looked at Su Heng. Big sister Su Leng. Su Heng said, Lengra has a fiery temper, and her mother is the one who understands her the best. That's why she's been able to create so many misunderstandings for us, making it so that I can't even explain myself. Now the members of the Void Een tribe are objecting to some of our decisions, but she won't listen to their explanations either. Is it because of the two-colored soil? Lu Yin asked. Su Heng smiled as he replied, that's not a big deal. The main problem is that the fusion between the two races will cause problems. Even though the fusion will increase one's power and influence, the feud between the two races won't be resolved so easily. It has nothing to do with you. The two-colored soil is a small matter, but if it's the catalyst then it's no small matter. Let me handle this, bro. Su Heng was surprised. You're handling it? Lu Yin replied, since Big Brother and Big Sister have recognized me as a brother, then I, Xianxia, am also a member of the Void Yang tribe and Void Een tribe. I have the right to interfere with the tribe's internal affairs. Besides, the two-colored soil transaction was also because of me, so leave it to me. Su Heng wanted to say something, but Lu Yin smiled and said, do you still need to worry about someone who can pass the void gate? Su Heng's eyes flashed. All right. How do you want to handle it? Take me to the Void Een tribe, Lu Yin said. Not long after, Su Leng's power disappeared. This was because the Void Een tribe had been suppressed by her once more, but the resentment within the tribe continued to accumulate. The moment someone broke through to the Void Transformation realm, it was very likely that they would rebel against Su Leng. Su Heng knew this and so did Su Leng. From the moment that she had been unable to be together with Su Heng due to the Void Een tribe's internal opposition, she had developed a hatred for the Void Yang tribe and her own tribe. Thus, she had done as she pleased and did not care about what her tribe members thought. Gradually she had gotten used to this. Even when she was together with Su Heng and no one could oppose her, she still continued to forcefully suppress her own tribe members. Many of the Void Een tribe members had their own thoughts. Once someone broke through to the Void Transformation realm, they would be able to stand on equal footing with Su Leng and vent the resentment that had accumulated over the years. Leave, Su Leng said coldly. The group of Void Een tribe members bowed and retreated. At that moment Su Heng brought Lu Yin over. Wait, Lu Yin called out. Su Leng looked over. Why are you here? Su Heng replied, Brother Xianxia wants to deal with this matter on his own. Su Leng replied, I've already dealt with it. Su Heng frowned. How many times have I told you? Your method of dealing with this matter can easily lead to hidden dangers. Su Leng replied, there are no hidden dangers. As long as I'm the strongest, it's fine. Su Heng was helpless as no one could do anything about this temper. At that moment many of the Void Een tribe members were staring at Lu Yin, their eyes filled with coldness and dissatisfaction. In any case, none of them liked him. Not all of the Void Een tribe were opposed to merging with the Void Yang tribe, but those who had come were all against it. Those who were in favor of merging with the Void Yang tribe and supported Su Leng did not appear. Lu Yin met their gaze. I was the one who facilitated the two-colored soil transaction. If you have any objections, you can look for me. Sir, you are not a member of the Void Een tribe. What right do you have to interfere with our tribe's affairs? The old woman asked with a cold gaze. Lu Yin looked at her. I was the one who helped hyperspace purchase the two-colored soil. What does that have to do with whether or not I'm a member of the Void Een tribe? As long as you deal with me, the two-colored soil transaction will naturally be cancelled. This is the simplest and fastest method. Brother, you dash. Su Leng's expression changed and he wanted to stop Lu Yin, but Lu Yin looked over. Sisterling, the simplest way to resolve a cultivator's problems is through strength, right? Well said, one of the men barked as he stared at Lu Yin. Brat, I don't care what your relationship is with the tribe leader, but since you dared to say such things, you'll have to bear the consequences. The best way to vent one's anger was to beat them up so that they could vent their anger on him. It was better than saving it for Su Leng, which would only cause more trouble in the future. The man walked out and stared at Lu Yin. Brat, what realm are you at? Lu Yin's lips curled up. Void realm. Su Heng and Su Leng were shocked. When they had first met Lu Yin, he had only displayed strength at the upper void realm and definitely not at the void realm. Now he had actually reached the void realm in less than half a year? How could this be? I'm also at the void realm, but my void god power is definitely stronger than yours. Are you sure you want to resolve this with strength? The man asked. Lu Yin nodded. If I can't beat you, then the two-colored soil deal is cancelled. The man sneered. What arrogance. He then looked at Su Leng. Tribe leader, you won't stop us, right? Su Leng stared at the man. Don't go overboard. The man raised his head. Fine. He then turned to Lu Yin. You go first. Lu Yin did not hesitate. He raised his hand and summoned his bone spear. These people could not tell how powerful it was, including Su Heng and Su Leng. Lu Yin waved his hand, causing the bone spear to pierce through the void and descend directly between the man's eyebrows. It was almost touching, but the man was stunned and did not move. It was not that he did not want to dodge, but rather that he could not react in time. How could Lu Yin be so fast? Lu Yin's eyes lit up. This bone spear was indeed a power vessel left behind by Wu Tian. It could ignore a person's defensive distance and directly hit the enemy. It was too useful. Lu Yin withdrew the bone spear and looked at his opponent. How was it? The man was stunned. He had not even used his full strength and had been defeated in a single move. You. Su Leng looked at the bone spear in Lu Yin's hand. No wonder he dared to say such a thing. This should be a power vessel, and even she could not tell how it had appeared. It should have been given to Xianxia by Senior Su Wei. Su Heng thought so as well, as only Su Wei could give such a good item. The man gritted his teeth, his face alternating between green and white. He was unwilling to accept this. He had not even attacked, and he had not even used his void god's power. I know you're unwilling. Let's cancel that round and continue, Lu Yin said. The man sneered. So what if I'm unwilling? A loss is a loss. He then turned around and left. Lu Yin was astonished. This person was rather straightforward. Another person walked out. Then let me. It was a woman with delicate features. There was a large scar on her face that had not healed yet. She had probably just been through a battle and had yet to be healed. Xianxia, right? I've heard of you. You're the top genius of the Hexway training rites and you just passed the void trial. No wonder you dared to speak so arrogantly to us. Someone behind her exclaimed. He's the one who passed the void trial? It's actually him. No wonder the clan leader treated him so courteously. I heard that this kid invited Senior Su Wei to guide him, but he didn't take the Void Master as his master. What is he thinking? I know that your innate gift is extraordinary, but it's a pity that you've picked the wrong opponent. I'm also at the Void Light realm, but the difference between us is too great. The woman stared at Lu Yin coldly. You can still attack first. As soon as she finished speaking, void god power filled the air around her. Following that, a sharp claw appeared from the void and swept across the area with a bloodthirsty and brutal aura. Su Leng frowned. This woman was called Su Lai, and she was a rare genius of the Voidine tribe. Her name had shaken the void god spacetime just like the current Su Ji. She had been recognized as a genius who would definitely break through to the void transformation realm. If not for the special cultivation methods of the Void Yin and Void Yang tribes, which made it impossible for them to break through to the Void realm without retrieving their Yin Yang swords, this woman would definitely be recognized as a genius who could break through to the Void realm. The reason why these people were becoming bolder and daring to openly oppose Lu Yin was because of this woman. She was already close to the peak of the Void realm, and if she was given a few more years she would definitely reach the Void transformation realm. This was also why Su Heng was worried. Once Su Lai reached the Void transformation realm, chaos would await the Void Yin tribe. When he saw Su Lai's natal void spirit walk out, Lu Yin was stunned. A white tiger. When the white tiger appeared, a terrifying void god's power filled the area. It was not much weaker than the void god's power that Su Leng had just used to suppress the crowd. It also contained an indescribable killing intent. Those who had never killed before would not be able to withstand it. Behind Su Lai, the old woman and the others were satisfied. This opposition was just a test, and Su Leng was still trying to force them to submit. The more she did this, the louder the voices of the Voidine tribe would be, and the greater Su Lai's influence would be. Now was the perfect time for her to display her power and intimidate the tribe. She had just returned from the battlefield, so her power was enough to give many people confidence. Chapter 2603. Virtual god power battles not only depended on one's own level, but also the strength of the virtual god. The White Tiger's virtual god power was almost 10 times stronger than Su Lai's. Even though Su Lai was still at the Void Luminous realm, his virtual god power alone was enough to fight against a Void Transformation realm. Su Leng's expression was gloomy. This was a show of force. Su Heng frowned. The Void Yin tribe situation was worse than he had imagined. Su Leng was about to lose control. Lu Yin didn't care. This girl's void god power was ridiculous, but so what if she was a void transformation realm cultivator? As he thought about it, his bone spear floated into the air. Are you really going to let me make the first move? Su Lai was astonished. She hadn't seen how the bone spear had attacked, but as long as Su Lai was protected by faux god strength, the bone spear wouldn't have been able to get close to Su Lai. Even if it was a powerful treasure, it didn't matter. You only have one chance, said Su Lai. Lu Yin smiled. With your void god strength, my bone spear won't be able to get close to you. It's not wrong to say that it's an opportunity. The old woman and the others were satisfied. This child was still quite tactful. But Lu Yin looked at Su Lai. Since you know that Senior Su Wei is my guide, where do you get the confidence that you can stop me with just the power of a void god? He then raised a hand. Spin. Su Lai's pupils shrank. Tai Xian, Su Heng, Su Leng, and even the old woman were stunned. Tai Xian. Everyone in the virtual god universe knew that it was the power of Senior Su Wei. It was an invincible power. How was it possible that this kid had learned the Tai spinning technique? Void god's power continued to gather in Lu Yin's palm, and after that lines extended out and passed through Su Lai's body without any resistance. They enveloped the entire Void Yin tribe and formed a square drawing. Su Lai's scalp went numb. This really was too great. She had seen it once before, but it was impossible. It was just half a year. The bone spike disappeared and reappeared. Just like before, it descended on Su Lai's forehead without any resistance. Su Lai didn't react at all. She couldn't react at all. Su Lai stared blankly at the bone spike floating in front of her. At such a close distance, she could feel the terrifying void god's power. It didn't come from Lu Yin but from the bone spike itself. She looked at Lu Yin and gulped. She had not lost her composure even in a life-or-death battle, but now her face was pale. You've won. Lu Yin lowered his hand, and the checkered drawing disappeared along with the bone spur. Thank you for letting me win. Everyone stared at Lu Yin in shock. Tai Xian, it really was Tai Xian. He had ignored Su Lai's void god power and used the bone spear to decide the battle. At this moment, Lu Yin had shocked everyone more than they had ever seen in their lives. Brother, you've learned the Tai Chi spin? Lu Yin replied, I know a bit about it, but it's not always effective. My luck was pretty good just now and I succeeded. Su. Senior Su Wei's supreme vortex was a symbol in the virtual god spacetime. Once the checkered painting appeared, it meant that Senior Su Wei had arrived. Now there was another person. Su Lai stared blankly at Lu Yin. I'm convinced. He then looked at Su Leng. Patriarch, I support the integration of the two clans. He then turned to leave. The old woman and the rest had complicated expressions. They had thought that Su Lai had displayed his power and taken the first step to pull Su Leng down. They hadn't expected it to be a failure. They looked at Su Leng. How had this woman found such an innate genius? Su Lai's declaration meant that the Void Yin tribe fully supported Su Leng. Their previous resentment was gone because of Lu Yin's existence and because he had learned Void God's art. In their eyes, Lu Yin represented not just himself, but also Senior Su Wei. Difficult. No one could pass the Void Gate. Congratulations, big brother Xianxia. I'm Yun and I'm here to greet you. A few people had appeared in the distance at some point. The one who spoke was a beautiful woman with a generous demeanor. It was obvious that she came from a large family, and she had a noble air about her. Lu Yin looked over, but he did not recognize her. Someone stepped forward to report. Leader, young Mistress Yun requests an audience. The elder asked me to bring her in. Everyone else, leave. He then looked at Yun. Are you the young mistress of the Jingyun clan? Yun smiled. Greetings, Senior Su Leng. Su Leng nodded. Please come in. Lu Yin looked at Yun. Was she the young mistress of the Jingyun clan? He hadn't gone looking for her, but she had come looking for him first. Su Leng quickly received them and Su Heng, Lu Yin and Yun took their seats. Young Mistress Yun, why have you come to the Void Yin tribe? Su Leng asked. Yun replied, I'm not here to see the Void Yin tribe but to see Brother Xianxia. Me? Lu Yin did not understand. Yun looked at Lu Yin with bright eyes that were filled with worship and respect. The elder specifically said that if Brother Xianxia needs anything in the Void God spacetime, the Jingyun clan will definitely help. Senior Su Xiangyin. Lu Yin asked. Yun nodded. Yes. How did you know that I'm here? The elder has already explained the relationship between brother Xianxia, clan leader Su Heng and clan leader Su Leng, so I naturally had to come and take a look. Also, Yun looked at Su Leng. I've admired your two clans for a long time, but I haven't had the chance to visit. Now is the perfect time to visit you two seniors. Yun spoke humbly and politely, which made everyone feel comfortable. Furthermore, she was the young mistress of the Jingyun clan, and because of her relationship with Lu Yin, she was practically connected to the two clans. Yun's arrival also saved Lu Yin a trip. He handed over the list of resources that Kujian had given him to Yun, hoping that the Jingyun clan would purchase them on his behalf. This was a small matter, so Yun readily agreed. Yun had originally wanted to invite Lu Yin to the Jingyun clan as a guest, but Lu Yin had declined. He wanted to wait until the two-colored soil was excavated before making the trade with the hyperdimension. Lu Yin's actions in the Voidine tribe also spread to the Voidyang tribe. That shocking checkered painting was enough to convince anyone. From then on, Tai Xian's name would not only represent Su Wei, but also Xianxia. Excavating the two-colored soil was not as easy as Lu Yin had imagined, and he had to wait for more than a month before he could complete the trade with the hyperdimension. However, before the hyperdimension could complete the trade, a person named Wu Man arrived with a letter of challenge. Lu Yin was surprised. A letter of challenge? Su Heng felt a headache coming on. I didn't think that this matter would still be over. Lu Yin looked at the letter and saw that it was signed, Xianxia. He had heard of this name before. Xianxia? That powerhouse? You've heard of him as well? Su Heng asked. Lu Yin nodded. A powerhouse who doesn't use any void spirit from the void god spacetime and walks an unusual path. It said that he opened up another path to heaven for many people in the void god spacetime. Su Heng sighed. Senior Xianxia is a legendary figure, but his legend is also related to Master Void Prime. Su Heng told Lu Yin about a grudge that had once occurred in the void god spacetime. Actually, it could not be considered a grudge, but rather a battle between two people's beliefs. Master Void Prime. The orthodox cultivators of the Void God civilization cultivated their void spirit and used it to their advantage. Xianxia, on the other hand, had deviated from the orthodox path and did not use any void spirit. Instead, he used the void spirit's power to display battle techniques, which was closer to a cultivation civilization. Thus, these two people with opposing beliefs had clashed in the same era. The two fought fiercely, but Master Void Prime won consecutively. He relied on the might of the Yin-Yang sword to defeat Xianxia, and the battle only ended when Master Void Prime died. The Yin-Yang sword is almost 20 times stronger than Master Void Prime's void spirit's power, so how could Senior Xianxia possibly be a match for it? His successive defeats were within everyone's expectations, but Senior Xianxia never gave up. However, he also stopped insisting on not using the void spirit. Instead, he began to nurture his own void spirit, and what he nurtured was his own beard. His beard was his, and he did not go against his promise of not using the void spirit. The competition was supposed to take place 1,000 years later, but unfortunately, Su Heng had a complicated look in his eyes as he continued. Master Su Yi died in battle and Senior Xianxia didn't get to fight him in the end. As for his defeat, he was never able to wash away. Su Heng continued. They didn't have any grudges, but their beliefs differed. They were more like friends, and after Master Void Prime died, Senior Xianxia personally went to the battlefield to retrieve his corpse, but he did not find the Yin-Yang sword. Lu Yin found it strange. Master Void Prime had died in battle, so the Yin-Yang sword should have been with him. Why had it appeared in the void dimension? Had Xianxia placed it there? No, there was no need for him to do that. The Void Yang and Void Yin clans had only been working together for half a year, and Xianxia had already sent someone to challenge Su Heng and Su Leng while he was only a void transformation realm cultivator. If Xianxia was so eager to fight against Master Void Prime, he would not have hidden the Yin-Yang sword. If Lu Yin were in Xiaoxi's position, he would have searched everywhere for the Yin-Yang sword so that the two clans could display their true strength. Are you confident in facing Senior Xianxia? Lu Yin asked. Su Heng and Su Leng exchanged glances and bitterly replied, how could we be confident? Even though Senior Xianxia also controlled his void spirit's power to the void transformation realm, He was the one who guided the many battle techniques of our void god spacetime. He was the one who guided countless people to cultivate void spirit's power. If the void master created the void god civilization, then Senior Xianxia opened up a path for this civilization, even though not everyone was willing to walk it. Did the void god civilization not have any battle techniques before Senior Xianxia? Lu Yin was curious. Su Leng replied, that's not the case. Senior Su Wei's Tai Chi vortex appeared in an era that far surpassed Senior Xiaoxi's. However, at that time, everyone was focused on the void god realm and did everything they could to increase the amount of void spirit's power they could draw. Very few people spent their time on battle techniques, but Senior Xiaoxi broke some people's beliefs and allowed them to use void spirit's power as a foundation. This allowed some people who weren't as talented in void spirit's power to walk the path. The one who brought the letter Wu Man was a typical example. At most he could draw on void spirit's power that was equivalent to his own. That kind of talent was basically wasted, but after following Senior Xiaoxi he cultivated all the way to his current realm. His future will be even greater and he might even reach the void transformation realm. It can be said that Senior Xiaoxi led many people who weren't as talented to walk the path of cultivation, and he was very respected in the void god spacetime. Lu Yin nodded. Every parallel spacetime had people worthy of respect, such as the Fifth Mainland's Elder Chan, the Fog Ancestor Progenitor Chen, and so on. There was also the Void God spacetimes Xiaoxi, Su Wei, and so on. This included the Drifting Cloud spacetime that had been conquered by the Void God spacetime. According to Zijing, the progenitor Drifting Cloud had almost gone mad when he saw the cultivators of the Drifting Cloud spacetime being slaughtered. That person definitely cared about his own people, and these people were all worthy of respect. Humans were like this. Some people would drag out an ignoble existence, pursue fame or seek revenge and choose to become spies of the Eternals. However, some people were righteous, and no matter how high they reached, they were willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of humanity. This was what humans were like. Chapter 2604. As he looked at Su Heng and Su Leng's troubled expressions, Lu Yin touched his cosmic ring. Perhaps giving them the Yin-Yang swords was the best choice, but how? Without the Yin-Yang sword, the Void-Yang tribe and Void-Yin tribe would not be able to break through to the Void realm. They relied too much on the Void spirit, and it was easy to imagine how much Void Prime relied on the Yin-Yang sword. No wonder he had fought with Xiaoxi. Are you confident in finding the Yin-Yang sword? Lu Yin asked. Su Heng and Su Leng looked at each other. Of course, but it's been so many years and the Yin-Yang sword's whereabouts are still unknown. We've long since given up. I have a way, Lu Yin said bluntly. These two people treated him with sincerity, and the feeling they gave him was the same as Brother Hui Kong. He hoped that he could help them. If the Yin-Yang sword was not with him, then it would be fine, but it just had to be with him. If he continued to hide it, then Lu Yin would not be able to get past himself. The two were shocked. You have a way? Lu Yin asked seriously. Do you believe that someone can use a power of the same origin to search for an item? The two were confused. Lu Yin explained, the Yin-Yang sword is Void Prime's void spirit and it's related to his power, right? You two also cultivate his power. If you can confirm that your powers are of the same origin, then there's a chance to find it. I know someone like that. Is that so? Su Heng did not believe it. Su Leng, on the other hand, believed him. The universe is vast and there are all sorts of strange things. It's normal for someone to cultivate a power that neither of us can understand. She then looked at Lu Yin with hope. Brother, what's the cultivation of this person you know? Lu Yin thought about it. In the void spirit spacetime he's at the void transformation realm. Su Leng's eyes lit up. Void transformation realm? Where is that? Lu Yin was troubled. This person is a little troublesome in my own spacetime, and I definitely won't be able to invite him. After all, he's a void transformation realm powerhouse, so I'll have to go to the hyperspace dimension and ask Zijing to help me. I'll have to use her influence there to invite this person. The person he was referring to was his fate daughter, but he could not bring his own fate daughter over. Although he wanted to help the two tribes, he did not want to be targeted. With his own cultivation, bringing a half-ancestor over would be suspicious, especially since he was being watched by Su Wei. In fact, he was willing to take a risk to help the two tribes. I'll go with you, Su Heng said. Lu Yin smiled. She's called an eccentric, so her temperament is naturally eccentric. That eccentric is restricted by hyperspace, which is why Zijing is useful. Besides, they already know each other. Even a virtual Tai realm powerhouse might not be able to invite her out. Su Heng was curious. Is that Zijing yours? Lu Yin smiled knowingly and looked at the two of them, who instantly understood. Ah, so that's how it is. Then I'm relieved. With sister-in-law's help, I don't owe transdimensional any favors, Su Heng said with a smile. Su Ling rolled his eyes. We only owe brother Xianxia. It has nothing to do with hyperspace. Lu Yin smiled wryly. What do you mean by, oh? Since you're here to ask for the two-colored soil, does that mean you owe the two of you as well? Of course not, I can give you as many as you want, Su Heng said straightforwardly. Su Ling grinned at Lu Yin. Alright, let's cut the crap. I'll go to hyperspace and look for Zijing. I should be able to bring that person back in half a month. By the way, how much longer until the challenge deadline? Lu Yin asked. Senior Xianxia gave us a year to prepare, Su Heng said. Lu Yin nodded. That's enough. I'm leaving. How are you going to hyperspace? Su Ling asked as if he had thought of something. Lu Yin smiled. Zijing is in hyperspace, so I have ways to visit her whenever I want. Bye. He then tore through the void and returned to the Eternal Kingdom. Su Heng sighed as he watched Lu Yin leave. Whether or not we can find the Yin Yang sword, we still owe brother a favor. Su Ling replied, we owe him more than just one favor. It doesn't matter. You. Su Heng smiled wryly, but he didn't care too much about it. He really did value Xianxia, and he didn't call him brother for nothing. As for the Yin Yang sword, he didn't have much hope. After returning to the fifth mainland, Lu Yin went straight to the home of the gods. The transaction between hyperspace and the home of the gods was very important, and hyperspace had specially sent someone to be stationed there. He said that he could provide assistance at any time if something happened, but in reality he was also there to keep an eye on the situation. If Lu Yin wanted to go to hyperspace, he would naturally look for that person. However, going to hyperspace to look for Zijing was just an excuse for Su Heng and Su Ling. Lu Yin naturally wouldn't actually go, but he had that person bring a message to Zijing and Kujian. On the surface, hyperspace could accept this favor. Because of Lu Yin, the two-colored soil could be purchased. And with Lu Yin's influence in the void god spacetime as well as his connection to the home of the gods, Xianxia had unknowingly become more and more important in hyperspace. Yiran kept thinking about this name. At the same time, this name kept popping up in the energy research team and the decision-making team. No one cared more about these resources than those in the know. They knew what the research was about, and if it succeeded, the entire structure of the Six Directions Society would change. The more they understood the importance of Zijing and Xianxia. In comparison, Bai Qian was like a transparent person and no one cared about her anymore. At most, they respected her on the surface. After Lu Yin passed the message, he returned to the Above the Sky sect and looked for Fate. During this time, Fate had been searching for Starsabil and Mr. Zhu. Back in the Astral Combat Academy, the stargazing towers had been destroyed one by one, and a bead had been discovered there. However, there had been an inexplicable massacre. Lu Yin had sent Butian and Fate to divine Mr. Zhu, and they had finally found out that Mr. Zhu might still be alive. At that time, Fate had gone to look for Starsabil, but she had never been able to find her again. Some time had passed since then, but Fate had still not found Starsabil. The Above the Sky sect had also been searching for Starsabil and Mr. Zhu, but there had been no news of them. Any clues? Lu Yin asked. Fate was furious. As the successor of Fate, everything was under her control, but she had still been played by Starsabil and Mr. Zhu. This was the first time she had encountered such a situation, and every time she thought about how Starsabil had been subservient in front of her, she felt like she was going crazy. She was even more hateful than Lu Bujing. No. You're the successor of Fate, Lu Yin reminded her. Fate gritted her teeth. That Mr. Zhu is not simple. I was tricked by him the first time I found the Starsabil sect. His relationship with Fate is definitely not inferior to mine. Lu Yin frowned. Ever since he had stepped onto the path of cultivation, the Starsabil sect had always been a topic that he could not avoid. As his realm grew higher, his horizons grew wider, and the fog surrounding the Starsabil sect grew thicker. What exactly was hidden there? Mr. Zhu had probably faked his death to avoid Fate. Since he wants to avoid you, that proves that you have the ability to threaten him. Continue searching and you must dig him out. Fate's gaze was resolute. She had never been so fixated on something before. Back when she had chased after Lu Bujing, she had done so on a whim. Even so, she had already given Lu Bujing a headache. Now all of her energy was focused on the Starsibyl sect. The most hateful thing is that they've been playing with me all this time. Mr. Zhu has been faking his death since the beginning, and when I wanted to investigate them, I discovered that everything related to the Starsibyl sect had been destroyed. That's the real reason why I can't find them. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. You can find anything related to them? Fate's maiden suddenly looked at Lu Yin with a burning gaze. Have one? Lu Yin nodded and smiled. What a coincidence. Starsibyl gave me an invitation back then and I couldn't bear to throw it away. It should be useful, right? He reached out to retrieve it from his cosmic ring. Fate's maiden sneered. You're quite capable if you can find it. Lu Yin frowned, but there was nothing. He stared at his cosmic ring and continued searching, but there was nothing. Impossible. He had always kept Starsibyl's invitation in his cosmic ring, so how could it not be there? What's going on? Lu Yin's expression turned ugly. Fate's maiden said, You're underestimating her. If she can trick me, the heir of fate, then it shouldn't be a problem for her to trick you. Besides, your cultivation must have been very low when you received the invitation. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. She gave you the invitation letter when your cultivation was low so that she could predict your future. When your cultivation was high enough and you wanted to counter her, the invitation letter would naturally be gone. How could someone who could deceive the successor of fate leave such a big flaw? It's not just you, all the invitations in this spacetime are gone. I thought of that a long time ago, said Fate Lady. Starsibyl gave out an invitation and some people felt that it was an honor. The smarter ones did not dare to accept it, while the more confident ones accepted it and wanted to use it to their advantage. You Pathmaster are the last type. Unfortunately, this opportunity will never come. Was it impossible? Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Back when he had been transporting resources from the Sixth Mainland, he had relied on Starsibyl's invitation to successfully escape and follow her away. Speaking of which, he had managed to counter her once, but that had been a small problem. Starsibyl had not done anything and had allowed the invitation to remain in his cosmic ring. Now that she had been investigated by Fate's maiden, Starsibyl had destroyed all of the invitations and revealed her true abilities. Lu Yin knew that he could use the invitation to counter Starsibyl, but he had been one step behind. Starsibyl was not that stupid, and the methods she had left behind could only be used to scheme against others. She would not allow others to scheme against her. Let's not think about this for now. Come with me to the Void God spacetime and help me put on a show. Lu Yin then told Fate's maiden what he wanted to do. She rolled her eyes. I can only put on a show. The power of destiny is useful in this spacetime, but once we leave this spacetime, unless we cultivate the power of a new spacetime, the power of destiny will not be compatible and might not be effective. Lu Yin thought about the Dai's possession, which was also ineffective in the 6 directional training halls. Did it have to be used in the Genesis space? Suddenly, Lu Yin thought of something and stood in place, deep in thought. Then when are we leaving? Fate's maiden asked. Lu Yin raised a hand to stop her from speaking. He had suddenly thought of something. What exactly was it? It had to be important. He recalled every single word that had just been said, and suddenly looked at Fate's maiden. The power of destiny is ineffective in other spacetimes? Fate's maiden replied, It's not exactly ineffective, but it might not be effective. After all, destiny cultivates in the Genesis space, and there will definitely be problems in other spacetimes. Chapter 2605. Lu Yin suddenly thought of Bai Qian. Bai Qian had an invitation from Starsibyl, and it was that invitation that had allowed her to leave Earth and step into outer space. Yes, Bai Qian. Nothing in this world could be perfect. Starsibyl could destroy all the invitations in the Genesis space, but Bai Qian's might be the only loophole. If I give you an invitation from Starsibyl, will you be able to capture her? Lu Yin stared at Life Maiden. Her eyes lit up and she gritted her teeth. Definitely. All right. Lu Yin smiled. Although there might not be one, I still have to ask. Perhaps there is an invitation that still exists. In a parallel space-time. Life Maiden's eyes blazed. Lu Yin looked at her and nodded. Life Maiden's breathing quickened. Quickly find it. I must capture Starsibyl and that Mr. Zhu. If they dare to trick me, they're dead. There's no rush. That invitation isn't that easy to obtain. It's rather troublesome, Lu Yin said. Bai Qian would definitely be watched by many in the hyperspace, especially now that he held the absolute advantage. She would not allow Bai Qian to easily come into contact with outsiders, and it would be very difficult for her to go to the Hexway training rites like before. Bai Qian had analyzed the three sovereigns' space with Lu Yin. In other words, Lu Yin would not be able to see Bai Qian for a while. Besides Zijing, there was no one else in the hyperspace, and it would be even more impossible for him to come into contact with Bai Qian. Retrieving the invitation from Bai Qian would be even more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Life Maiden grew anxious. How troublesome. Even with your methods you can't obtain it? Lu Yin replied, just wait. There will be a chance. He would not take the risk of having Zijing contact Bai Qian. If he was exposed he would lose everything. Was not the only one in the hyperspace. There was also that ruler. That was the greatest threat. 10 days later Lu Yin brought Life Maiden to the Void God spacetime. There's nothing special. Life Maiden looked at the sky. Lu Yin replied, if you cultivate Void God's power, you will discover that this space is filled with Void God's power. That Void Master has the power to change the entire parallel spacetime. Life Maiden was speechless. Isn't he comparable to a primogenitor? Lu Yin shook his head as he did not know. In truth, Lu Yin did not know exactly how powerful the primogenitor was, but the only person in the Six Paths Association who was said to be comparable to the primogenitor was an exalted celestial, which meant that this Void Master was clearly not at that level. Moreover, this Void Master was good friends with Wu Tian, so he should be at the level of the Three Realms Six Daoists. He didn't say much about this to Fate Daughter. Since he was here he had to quickly help the two races find the Yin-Yang sword. Lu Yin and Life's Daughter spent a few days hiding the Yin-Yang swords before taking Life's Daughter to the two clans. Su Heng and Su Lung were confused when they saw Fate Girl wrapped in white clouds. Brother, who is this? This is the eccentric. Bro used the power of the same origin as the Yin-Yang sword. This eccentric will help us find it, Lu Yin said. Within the white clouds the Fate Maiden's cold voice rang out. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to find it. This spacetime is different from the one I'm in. Su Heng nodded. They had cultivated to the void transformation realm, so they could naturally think of this. In reality they hadn't held out much hope, but since the eccentric was already here, they might as well give it a try. Soon Su Heng and Su Lung joined forces to use Master Void Prime's power. This power could only be used when they worked together, and this was also the reason why Xianxia had challenged them. This was the first time Lu Yin had seen the power of the Void Yang and Void Yin clans. Su Heng's power was called the Scorching Yang technique, while Su Lung's was called the Yin Heart technique. They were hot and cold, and they fused together in a special way to form a power that was neither cold nor yang. It was more like the origin of a power, and it reminded Lu Yin of a few words carved onto the Yin-Yang sword. Yin is the power of the heart. Yang is the power of the scorching heat. Yin and Yang converge, breaking through the heavens. This power seemed to have the potential to break through the heavens, bringing with it the initial warmth. Earth's energy came from the sun. Compared to the virtual god power that Su Heng and Su Lung cultivated, this energy was the sun, giving them endless possibilities. Apart they were ordinary, but when they fused together there were endless possibilities. The two powers converged into a line that was touched by the Life Maiden. The line then extended into the distance for an unknown amount of time. Follow the line. The Life Maiden then walked out for the first time. Su Heng and Su Lung looked at each other in disbelief. Could they really find it? The group followed the line into the distance and they gradually found the location where Lu Yin had hidden the Yin-Yang sword. As the line snapped, the sky bloomed with light, and the Yin-Yang sword soared into the sky towards the two powers that had fused together. Su Heng and Su Lung were shocked. The Yin-Yang sword? The Yin-Yang sword? Lu Yin sighed. The Life Maiden was calm. This was just an act. What she found strange was that the Life Maiden had spent so many years searching for the sword, so where had Lu Yin gotten it from? This was what she didn't understand the most. There were many times when Lu Yin was able to do unimaginable things. Su Heng and Su Lung circled around the Yin-Yang sword, and their power multiplied. Lu Yin raised a brow and quickly reminded them to restrain themselves. If this continued, the entire Void God spacetime would know that they had found the Yin-Yang sword. Su Heng and Su Lung reacted and put away the Yin-Yang sword. They hurried over to thank the Life Maiden, but she was cold. No need to thank me. She then turned to Lu Yin. Don't forget what you promised me. Go back. Lu Yin nodded. Bro, I'll go back with her first. We'll be back soon. Su Heng stepped forward. Bro, what did you promise? Lu Yin replied, nothing. Su Heng seriously replied, you're helping our two clans by finding the Yin Yang sword. Any promises will be made by our two clans. He then walked towards the Life Maiden and bowed deeply. Su Heng, the leader of the Void Yang clan, thank you for helping us find our treasures. Su Leng also stepped forward. Su Leng, the leader of the Void Yin clan, thank you for helping us find our treasures. Now that the treasures have been found, our two clans will be responsible for the promises that Brother Xianxia made. Please state them clearly. Lu Yin hurriedly stepped forward. Bro, it's not a big deal. I'll tell you when I get back. Su Heng was very serious as he looked at Xianxia and said, Brother, you've done enough. Since the Yin Yang sword has been found, you've done more than just a favor for our two races. We don't know how to repay you, and inviting such an extraordinary person must have cost us quite a bit. No matter if it's you or your sister-in-law, you shouldn't do anything for us. Su Ling patted Lu Yin's shoulder and smiled. We'll pay the price ourselves. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. The Life Maiden did not belong to the fifth mainland, so he could not locate her in the vast parallel spacetime. Thus he had to personally send her back. He could only use this excuse to send her back, but he had not expected these two to be so serious. The Life Maiden's cold voice rang out. I'll tell Xianxia about the price. It's time for me to leave. Lu Yin hurriedly tore through the void. I'll go with him. The eccentric will return. I'll find you later. Su Heng wanted to stop them, but Su Ling said, let them go first. No matter how much this eccentric demands, it's not something we can bear. After all, we belong to the void god spacetime. Su Heng nodded. But we still have to give Bro Xianxia an explanation. Of course, Su Ling said. But let's return to our clans first. The convergence of our powers has loosened my bottleneck. Brother Heng, it's time to break through to the virtual realm. Su Heng's eyes lit up. Me too. The two then returned to their clans. On the other side, Lu Yin brought the Life Maiden back to the Eternal Kingdom before returning to the Above Heaven sect. Pathmaster, those two have good characters, the Life Maiden said. Lu Yin replied, thank you. The Life Maiden asked, when will you be able to find the invitation? Lu Yin replied, I'm more anxious than you. The Starsibyl sect will always exist and I'll never be able to find out their goal. I'll think of a way to get it back. The Life Maiden left, and Lu Yin hurried back to the Void God spacetime to visit the two clans. Although it hadn't been long, news of the two clans finding the Yin Yang sword had already spread, and it was only a matter of time before it spread throughout the Void God spacetime. It was very likely that it would attract the attention of Su Wuwei or Su Wuji, so he couldn't be away for too long. When Lu Yin returned to the two clans, he learned that Su Heng and Su Leng had gone into seclusion. The Yin Yang sword was too important to their clans and they relied on it too much. This wasn't a good thing, but it was their business, so Lu Yin didn't say anything about it. The people he knew were all in seclusion and Lu Yin didn't have much to do. He was just about to go into seclusion to cultivate since he hadn't rolled his die in a long time, but Su Lai came looking for him and asked about the 6 direction training rites. Why are you interested in the 6 direction training rites? Lu Yin was puzzled. Ever since Lu Yin had defeated Su Lai's attitude towards him had completely changed. He was no longer as cold as before and his voice was as gentle as possible. Even Su Ling didn't treat him this way. During this period of time, the fusion of our clan's power has undergone a qualitative change. Wu Man's challenge made me see this even more clearly. Before this, Senior Xiao didn't even take us seriously, but now we're qualified to be noticed by those powerhouses. Su Lai looked at Lu Yin with sincerity. If the fusion of our clans is already like this, then the fusion of the 6 direction training right civilizations is naturally even more important. Lu Yin sighed. I'm surprised that you can think of this. Actually, the 6 direction training rites only take in the younger generation. The older generation doesn't want to fuse their civilizations at all, and they only want to cultivate their own strength. From their perspective, it's far more important to cultivate than to spend time fusing civilizations. Only the younger generation is willing to sacrifice time to try. Is this the conclusion you reached in the six direction training rites? Su Lai asked. You can say that. Su Lai stared at Lu Yin. I'm from the older generation? Lu Yin was stunned as he hadn't expected Su Lai to focus on this. Of course she was from the older generation and she was at least a few hundred or 1,000 years old. At the very least, you don't meet the requirements of going to the six direction training rites. Su Lai continued, when it comes to cultivation, time is no longer the standard. It might seem like there's a huge age gap between us now, but 10,000 years from now, will you still think that this gap is huge? You want to discuss this with me? Lu Yin was puzzled. Su Lai said, let's go out for a walk. You probably don't know much about the Void God's spacetime. Lu Yin thought about it and agreed. All right. Not long after, the two left the clan grounds and wandered around under Su Lai's guidance. Chapter 2606. The Void God's spacetime was different from the Fifth Mainland in terms of the nature of their power, and the differences in their civilizations led to different architectural styles and cultures. However, many things were the same. For example, the Void God spacetime was divided into a cultivation civilization and a technological civilization. This was something that Lu Yin had not expected, as he had assumed that the entire Void God spacetime cultivated Void God power. This civilization can't even step out of space. They have to rely on their own abilities and see us as aliens. Only then will they be able to see this spacetime clearly. Su Lai and Lu Yin looked at the dark red planet in the distance. The planet's technology was still in its infancy, and it was still in the era of cold weapons and firearms. It would take at least 100 years or even longer to leave the planet. Lu Yin had looked at other civilizations from this perspective more than once. To these civilizations they were aliens that could not be touched. If they appeared, they might even be treated as gods, but once they left the planet, they would discover that they were just different in terms of cultivation. There was no difference in quality. He often wondered if there was a pair of eyes watching him from the void, watching the flow of spacetime. Just as Saruzin had said, everything could be quantified, and the owner of those eyes was an existence that could control quantification. Did such a being exist? If not, then where did Saruzin's karmic gift come from? Where did Lu Yin's dye come from? If it existed, what kind of being was it? What kind of great power did it have? His power was like that of a god in this spacetime, but if they could one day step out of this spacetime and come into contact with such an existence, would they also discover that there was no difference in quality between them? Was the difference in their realms? If that was the case, then did that mean that there was another power above the ancestors? Lu Yin looked up at the dark sky and fell into deep thought. After that, Su Lai brought Lu Yin around the Void God spacetime. Lu Yin had never thought that such a cold person would do such a thing. I plan to send people to the 6 paths, the more the better, Su Lai said. Lu Yin did not say much. This was a matter of the Voidine tribe and he could not interfere just because he had helped the 2 tribes. The 2 wandered around for a few days, but Lu Yin gradually lost interest and returned to the 2 tribes. On the way back he saw the planet that was just starting to develop technology. Lu Yin suddenly asked, "Do you think that someone will interfere with this civilization?" "What do you mean?" Su Lai did not understand. Lu Yin said, "Go in and become a god." Su Lai's brows raised. Probably not. Who would be so bored? That would only embarrass themselves if others found out. This is a way to escape reality, Lu Yin said. Suddenly, his expression changed as he glanced to the right. Su Lai looked in the same direction and his expression changed. Not good. Her Void God's force surged as the white tiger above her head walked out of its nest and roared at the sky. What happened? Lu Yin feigned ignorance. Su of the void of Lu. Lu Yin of the void of the voids. The white tiger virtual god roared and stretched out its claw, pressing forward. A human figure suddenly appeared and collided with the white tiger virtual god. With a bang, the void distorted and then exploded. The terrifying power continued to tear the void, causing countless spatial cracks to appear. Lu Yin was shocked. Eternals. Su's voids Lu of the Su, and Su's of Su. To Su's to if he too, of Su. Battle and life or death were 2 different things. The white tiger void god frantically extended its claws and pounced at the eternal corpse king. The corpse king's eyes constantly changed until they finally stopped at red. The Corpse King's red eyes transformation combined with the Corpse King's already powerful body and cultivation that rivaled Su Lai's own. Even if the White Tiger Void God's Void God power far surpassed Su Lai's, it still could not kill the Corpse King in an instant. Su Lai frowned, her heart sinking when she saw the Corpse King's red eyes transformation. On the battlefield, most of the Void God civilization's cultivators were at the back while the Void Gods charged forward. The most effective way to deal with them was to deal with Corpse Kings. These Corpse Kings increased their physical strength by 10-fold or even 100-fold, and Void Gods had no advantage over them. Even if a Void God had Void God power that was several times greater than a cultivator's, it would still be difficult to shake a Corpse King. The Six Direction Society and the Eternal Tribe had been fighting for countless years, and they were familiar with each other. When she saw the Corpse King attack, Su Lai knew that this was a premeditated attack. "I'll do it," Lu Yin said, his bone spear floating in the air as he casually waved it. Su Lai did not stop him. Although she was worried about Lu Yin, as long as he acted, even she would not be able to stop him. The Corpse King would not be able to either. The moment the bone spear shot out, Su Lai felt her scalp go numb and she turned around. Danger! Lu Yin had sensed it before she did, and the bone spear's target was not the Corpse King but behind them. The moment Su Lai turned around, Lu Yin also did the same. The bone spear pierced through the void, shattering a sharp mist that Lu Yin did not recognize before disappearing. Su Lai had not expected Lu Yin to react so quickly. The bone spear instantly pierced through the void, piercing through a figure's head and causing blood to splatter through space. At the same time, the White Tiger Void God roared and knocked the Corpse King back. Its claws were wrapped in Void God power, and it tore a small portion of the Corpse King's body apart. However, the White Tiger Void God had used up quite a bit of Void God power. Lu Yin waved his hand and the bone spear shot towards the Corpse King. Before the Corpse King could react, the bone spear pierced through its head, instantly killing it just like before. This was the bone spear, a reward that Wu Tian had given to those who successfully passed the Void Gate. It was definitely not an ordinary item, and this was Lu Yin's first time using it in battle. With the bone spear's ability to ignore distance and the terrifying Void God's power that the Void Master had instilled into it, along with Lu Yin's Void God power that was close to the peak of the Void Realm, the bone spear could unleash a destructive power that was comparable to a half-martial ancestor. 2 Corpse Kings had died in an instant. This was the result of Lu Yin's attack. Su Lai was shocked. She knew that the bone spear was powerful, but this was a completely different experience. If she had not admitted defeat against Lu Yin, she would have suffered the same fate as the Corpse Kings. Su Lai looked at the bone spear floating beside her and suppressed her shock. "This Void God. Senior Su Wei gave it to me." Lu Yin did not hesitate to use Su Wei's name. Su Lai nodded. Only an expert like Senior Su Wei could create such a Void God. She looked at Lu Yin. "I'm sorry for putting you in danger." Normally, Lu Yin would have suspected Su Lai since this woman had mysteriously brought him out. If he had not come out, then he would not have encountered such danger. However, he had been observing Su Lai when he had sensed the Corpse King's appearance. Su Lai had immediately protected him the moment she had discovered the Corpse King, which was a subconscious reaction that could not be faked. There was no need for her to feign such a reaction in front of him. Based on her knowledge, it was impossible for her to sense danger in advance. Only such a reaction could reveal a person's true nature. "It's fine, just treat it as practice," Lu Yin said. Su Lai clenched her fists. "I'll get to the bottom of this. This has nothing to do with me." "I know," Lu Yin said. Su Lai frowned. "You know? Normally you should suspect me since I was the one who brought you out." Lu Yin smiled. "You didn't force me out and I wouldn't have come out even if I didn't want to. Don't worry, I know it has nothing to do with you." Su Lai could not understand Lu Yin. Was this person pretending or was he really not related to her? But then again, Lu Yin's expression darkened. Su Lai looked at him. Lu Yin met her gaze. "This is the heart of the Void God spacetime, but we were ambushed by the Eternals. Are their infiltration methods too advanced, or is the Void God spacetime's reaction too poor?" Su Lai's expression turned ugly. "It's not just the Void God spacetime. It's the same for the Six Direction Societies as well. Important people or geniuses with innate gifts will more or less be assassinated by the Eternals." Why? Lu Yin did not understand. He could understand if the assassin was a spy, but the one he had just killed was a corpse king whose scarlet eyes were too obvious. Su Lai was vexed. I don't know how to explain it to you. You'll understand as time passes. To put it simply, this is the current situation of the Six Direction Societies, and it's very difficult to change. Doesn't the Six Direction Societies specifically search for Eternals or Corpse Kings? Lu Yin asked. Yes, Su Lai replied. Heaven's Reflection Manor. Heaven's Reflection Manor? Lu Yin raised a brow. That was a good name. Unfortunately, it's useless. Su Lai shook her head. The Heaven's Reflection Manor was established by the Six Direction Societies specifically to search for corpse kings and spies. However, due to various reasons, it's not very effective. This involves the conflicts between the Six Direction Societies and the Eternals' methods. In short, the more civilizations there are, the harder it is to find spies. Xianxia, be careful when you travel through the Void God spacetime in the future. If the Eternals can assassinate you once, they can do it again. Lu Yin was dissatisfied. There's the endless battlefield and the Six Direction Societies have isolated regions, but the Eternals still manage to infiltrate. This Heaven's Reflection Manor is truly useless. Who created it? Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go back. Not many people know about our journey, but we'll definitely be able to find out who's colluding with the Eternals. Su Lai's gaze was cold and filled with bone-chilling killing intent. Ignoring Lu Yin's importance to the two races, if the Eternals successfully assassinated him, she would definitely be in trouble. After all, Lu Yin had involved Su Wuwei in the Void God spacetime, so he was not an ordinary person. Su Lai hated the person who had revealed their tracks to the core, and she impatiently returned to the Void Yin tribe to begin her investigation. Lu Yin would not go out for the time being, so he chose to cultivate in seclusion. Su Lai had arranged a rather secretive place for him to stay. Lu Yin took out his bone spear and looked at it. Killing corpse kings was easy, and with his cultivation of Void God's power, it should be easy for him to kill a half-ancestor with this bone spear. Void God's power was still very useful, so Lu Yin decided to continue cultivating. The amount of Void God's power that Void Master had imbued into the bone spear was rather vast, and he wanted to make full use of it. Lu Yin casually placed the bone spear to the side and began to roll his die. It had been a long time since he had rolled it, and it would be best if he could get 3 pips to see if he could upgrade the bone spear to the level of a slipper. That way he would be able to kill a progenitor like Xianxia in an instant. Chapter 2607. Lu Yin watched as the die slowly stopped spinning. 6 pips. Lu Yin felt helpless, it was useless. As long as he was in the origin dimension, 6 pips would be meaningless. Suddenly, the bone spear's leaking Void God power was sucked away. Lu Yin had barely reacted when his consciousness appeared in a dark space surrounded by orbs of light. He was stunned. Was it useful? 6 pips was actually useful. He had tried it before, but that had been in the Hexagon training hall, and the die had sucked away the bone spear's leaking Void God power. Right, he needed to use the power of his current spacetime. In the origin dimension, 6 pips had extracted star energy from star essence, and now that he was in the Void God spacetime, it naturally extracted Void God power. Why hadn't he thought of such a simple principle before? The earliest to obtain the power of a parallel spacetime was the Hui crystal of the Three Monarchs spacetime. If he could roll 6 pips in the Three Monarchs spacetime, it should be useful. Lu Yin didn't have much time to think about it, so he found a random orb and merged with it. The scene in front of him changed and he saw a bustling street in front of him. This was a piece of land in the Void God spacetime. Lu Yin didn't move from his spot, but someone pushed him from behind. "Third bro, let's go." Lu Yin grunted as memories flooded his mind. He knew that he had merged with the body of a Void Realm cultivator and was currently rushing towards the academy. Very little Void God power leaked from the bone spear, and after taking 2 steps, Lu Yin broke away from the fusion. His consciousness appeared in the dark space before returning to his body. He opened his eyes and they were filled with ecstasy. It was useful. 6 pips was useful. Back in the Hexagon training hall, he had tried to roll 6 pips, but it had been useless. He had been depressed for a while, but he had to admit that the innate gift of the die had helped him a lot in his cultivation. Now that he had found a way to use 6 pips, Lu Yin was more confident in many things, such as identifying a spy. Lu Yin grabbed the bone spear and drew in the Void God power. As it grew more and more majestic, he raised his hand and continued rolling his die. This time he wanted to merge with someone who had cultivated void god power at the same level as him. That person had to be someone who had undergone 6 tribulations of origin. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had to roll 6 pips. He tapped the die and watched it slowly spin before it finally stopped at 6 pips. Lu Yin casually tossed the bone spur over to see if it could be upgraded. At the same time he tossed in tens of thousands of star essence, but there was no reaction from the bone spur. He was disappointed that it could not be upgraded. Wu Tian had already refined this bone spur to the max. Next he took out the white energy source. If he could upgrade it to a black energy source, then he would be able to mass-produce progenitors. However, reality proved that this was just a dream. The white energy source did not move at all. He shook his head and took out his lotus treasure, but it could not be upgraded either. He had already failed to upgrade 3 items in a row, which made him feel rather uncomfortable. He took out the half-burned Book of Destiny and placed it on the table. This thing should work, right? Even if it couldn't be upgraded, it could at least be repaired. As he watched the Book of Destiny descend, Lu Yin relaxed. His die was of a higher grade than the Book of Destiny, but after some calculations he estimated that he would need around 6 trillion star essence to repair the Book of Destiny. This was not an amount that he could afford at the moment, and he only had a little more than 5 trillion star essence on him right now, so he could not use it just in case. He had no choice but to put the Book of Destiny away. It wasn't too disappointing. At least he could improve. There was still hope. He continued to roll his die, and this time he rolled 2 pips. The 2 pips allowed him to decompose materials. Although they seemed useless, they could be quite useful in certain situations, such as the monster ancestors' weapons. The materials used to make these weapons were rather rare, and even progenitors were interested in them. However, the monster ancestor had created these weapons that no one could use, so it would be a pity not to decompose them. Lu Yin began to decompose the monster ancestor's weapons, as there were many resources that hyperspace wanted. After a period of time, Lu Yin completely decomposed the monster ancestor's weapons. He rested for half a month before continuing to roll his die. Once, twice, thrice, 4 times, and he continued to rest before rolling 4 pips. He had never taken so long to roll 4 pips before. 4 pips in time stop was second only to 1 pip. With an extra year to cultivate, Lu Yin memorized the primogenitor's scripture and cultivated the serious art. A year quickly passed and the scene in front of him changed. He returned to reality and continued to roll his die. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Su Heng and Su Lung were still in seclusion, but the scorching and chilling energies of the 2 clans were invisibly increasing. On this day Lu Yin rolled 6 pips again. It had not been easy, and he had only rolled 6 pips after such a long time. Lu Yin looked at the balls of light in the dark space around him and found a brighter one to merge with. When he opened his eyes, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He lowered his head and was left speechless. He had merged with a woman's body again. No wonder it felt so strange. He wanted to withdraw, but he had rolled 6 pips after much difficulty. This woman's cultivation was not low, so he decided to take a look at her memories first. As the memories flooded in, Lu Yin knew whose body he had merged with. Yun Wu, the aunt of the Jingyun family's young mistress, Yun Yun. Lu Yin had never thought that he would merge with someone from the Jingyun family. As more memories flooded in, Lu Yin's expression grew gloomier. Yun Wu was actually a spy. It was not accurate to call her a spy. She had been influenced by some kind of power, and her mind was only filled with loyalty to the everlasting tribe. She was indifferent to humans, her family, and her family. Even though all her memories were present, they were filled with disgust. Lu Yin read through the memories. Although Yun Wu had been chased out of her family due to a marriage alliance, the Jingyun family had treated her well when she was young. Her parents had especially doted on her, but she hated everything. She hated everything, including being human. She hated the Jingyun family so much that she wanted to destroy it, but there was also a belief that made her act like a normal person in front of others. What kind of power was affecting her? Lu Yin continued to read through her memories, not wanting to miss a single bit. Not long after, he withdrew from the fusion. The virtual god's power had been exhausted, and he could only draw out so much virtual god's power. If he could completely exhaust the virtual god's power within the bone spur, he would be able to stay in Yun Wu's body for a very long time. He opened his eyes and exhaled. He had seen a bubble in Yun Wu's memories. It was the dreamy illusion bubble Qing Kong's power. Had Qing Kong influenced her? This was troublesome. She wasn't a true spy, but she was working for Qing Kong. What should he do? He recalled what Su Lai had said about the Horizon Manor not being effective. Qing Kong should be one of the reasons. How should he deal with people affected by Qing Kong? This was troublesome, but the most troublesome part was that these people did not believe that they were spies. It would be impossible to investigate them. In their minds, they were just normal people with an additional sense of loyalty to the everlasting tribe. This was even more difficult to investigate than being a spy. Lu Yin frowned. He had looked through Yun Wu's memories, and it would not be difficult to expose her. The difficult part was how to deal with her after that. What should he do about the things she had done? Lu Yin walked out of seclusion and looked up. Was the cold getting heavier? He wondered how their seclusion was going. The Cloud Connect stone was vibrating from Yun Yun. She had come to see him earlier and had exchanged contact details. Brother Xianxia, the first batch of resources is ready. We can trade at any time, she smiled. Lu Yin replied, that's great. I'll contact hyperspace right away. Thank you, Yun Yun. Yun Yun blushed slightly. Brother Xianxia, you don't have to be so polite. I'll take the resources to the Void Yang clan. No, I'll go to your place, Lu Yin said. Yun Yun's eyes lit up. Brother Xianxia, you're coming to my Scenic Cloud clan? That's great. Lu Yin smiled and exchanged some pleasantries before ending the call. He looked in the direction of the Scenic Cloud clan. He should go, as he could not allow these spies to wreak havoc among the humans, regardless of whether they were actively or passively doing so. He bid farewell to the two clans and returned to the Eternal Kingdom. He then headed to the home of the gods and had the hyperspace personnel contact Kujian. This was a deal between the hyperspace and the Scenic Cloud clan, so Kujian was naturally in charge. A few days later, Kujian arrived and looked at Lu Yin excitedly. Xianxia, can we trade now? Lu Yin nodded. The Scenic Cloud clan is very generous and efficient. Let's go. Kujian nodded and sighed. If it weren't for you, it wouldn't have been easy for us to buy resources from the Void God spacetime. Seems like the 6 clans are helping each other, but you know that resources can't be leaked out so easily. Took us years to get the same amount of resources and the price was high. It wasn't worth it, but you got it done in a few months. Xianxia, Lady Hiran asked me to express her gratitude to you. Lu Yin solemnly replied, you're being too formal. Although I've joined the Void God spacetime, hyperspace is still my home. Zijing will never leave hyperspace. I hope that the Void God spacetime and hyperspace are doing well. It's best for us to trade and help each other. Kujian's eyes flashed. Well said. I'll tell Lady Hiran what you think. She'll be happy to hear it. Hyperspace will always be behind you. Soon enough, Lu Yin and Kujian arrived at the Void God spacetime and headed towards the Scenic Cloud clan. The Scenic Cloud clan was a large clan that had produced a virtual realm powerhouse. At its peak, its influence was close to a third of the Void God spacetimes. This was something that no virtual realm powerhouse could achieve. Of course, it wasn't impossible, but no virtual realm powerhouse could maintain such a huge influence. In terms of individual influence, Su Wuwei not only covered the entire Void God spacetime, but also attracted the attention of the 6 clans. However, he only represented himself. He didn't have a family. Although the Scenic Cloud clan had declined, they still relied on their ancestors and Su Xiangyin, so they weren't bad. Hyperspace wanted to trade with the Void God spacetime, so they naturally knew a lot about the Scenic Cloud clan. When they arrived at the Scenic Cloud clan, Yun Yun led many of the clan members to personally welcome them. Brother Xianxia, welcome to the Scenic Cloud clan as a guest. Yun Yun smiled happily. Kujian was surprised. He had lived for a long time and could tell that the young master of the Scenic Cloud clan treated Xianxia differently. Chapter 2608. Lu Yin smiled. Young mistress, sorry to disturb you. Brother Xianxia, you can treat the Scenic Cloud clan as your own home. How could we disturb you when you're home? Yun Yun was very good with words, and she looked at Lu Yin with a strange light in her eyes. Although the Scenic Cloud clan treated Lu Yin courteously, it was not enough to cause Yun Yun to act this way. The main reason was that when Yun Yun had first seen Lu Yin, she had coincidentally seen Lu Yin display his Taishu domain. That checkered diagram had been too impactful, and it had caused ripples in her heart. After all, she was still young, and it was easy for her to be affected by certain emotions, which led to her current attitude. Kujian was not the only one who felt that their young clan head was too enthusiastic. However, no one dared to say anything. The clan head had gone to the endless battlefield. Now the ones in charge of the Scenic Cloud clan were young clan head Yun Yun and Grand Elder Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian's attitude towards Lu Yin was even better, as he wished that he could treat Lu Yin as his own grandson. Lu Yin had not come to the Scenic Cloud clan to return home for nothing, as that was the truth. He introduced Kujian to the Scenic Cloud clan and Yun Yun smiled. Senior Kujian, you've come as a representative of transcending space-time. The Scenic Cloud clan welcomes you. Kujian smiled and said a few polite words. The group entered the Scenic Cloud tribe. The transaction went smoothly and Kujian was very satisfied with the fact that Kujian had actually made a deal with the Scenic Cloud clan in the past. But because the efficiency had been too low, Kujian had had no choice but to rely on Lu Yin. The terms of this transaction were the same, and the only difference was that the time required was much faster, which satisfied Kujian. After the transaction was completed, Kujian left immediately. He had to report back to his superiors. Before he left, he had to discuss the time of the next transaction. The first time Lu Yin had brought it along, but there was no need for him to do so again. After Kujian left, Yun Yun hurriedly showed him around the Scenic Cloud clan. The Scenic Cloud race's territory was bigger than the Voidyang race and the Voidine race combined. Even though the two races had inherited the legacy of an extreme expert like Venerable Void One, they were only inheritances and not descendants. They were not pure extreme experts family clans. The Scenic Cloud race, on the other hand, was the descendant of a true extreme experts family clan. Their heritage was not something the other two races could compare to. Big brother Xianxia, I heard that you helped the Voidyang race and the Voidine race find the Yin Yang sword? Yun Yun suddenly asked as she led Lu Yin on a tour. Lu Yin nodded. This matter had already spread and there was no need to hide it. Yun Yun was envious. They're really lucky to have big brother Xianxi's help. Lu Yin replied, it's nothing much. If there's anything I can help the Scenic Cloud clan with, I'll do my best. Yun Yun smiled. I know. What is that place? Lu Yin asked as he looked towards the mountain range to his right. Yun Yun said, that's a garden used to cultivate medicinal herbs. Does big brother Xianxia want to take a look? Herbs. I wonder if there are any special herbs in the virtual god universe. See. All right. Not long after, he looked in another direction. What's that place? Our Scenic Cloud clan has 135 scenic spots, and each of them is extremely beautiful. The ancestor personally arranged them and this place is one of them. How many sceneries have we seen? 17. Let's go take a look at that. All right. What is that place? That's... Through Yunwu's memories, Lu Yin had a good understanding of the Scenic Cloud tribe, and he had intentionally brought Yun Yun closer to Yunwu's residence. However, from what Yun Yun knew, Lu Yin had only done so by accident. Brother Xianxia, it's not good to go there. That's the area where my aunt Yunwu lives, Yun Yun said. Lu Yin was curious. Your aunt? Yun Yun nodded. Aunt Yunwu had a hard life. She had many suitors when she was young, but my father forced her to marry someone she didn't like. However, she had a strong personality and would rather destroy her own cultivation than marry. My father had no choice but to give up on her and banish her from the main area of the clan. She then moved here. Yun Yun was very respectful towards her aunt and she spoke a lot about it. Lu Yin knew about Yunwu's memories, and through Yun Yun's point of view and her memories, he was able to determine what kind of image Yunwu was trying to create for herself. After a long time, Yun Yun finally reacted. I'm sorry, brother Xianxia, I spoke too much. Lu Yin didn't mind. It's fine. Yun Yun, you said that your aunt stays here all year round and doesn't go out? Yeah, that's why I didn't call her along when I welcomed you, Yun Yun said. Lu Yin smiled. Although she doesn't go out all year round, she's still quite diligent. It seems like she's not satisfied with staying here. Yun Yun was confused. Why do you say that? My aunt has never returned to the clan. Father basically chased her out and she swore that she wouldn't go back. Lu Yin looked at her. She doesn't go back? Are there other people from the Scenic Cloud clan living here? Of course not. Yun Yun's expression changed. If there really were other people living here, then it meant that Yunwu was hiding something from the clan, and that would be very embarrassing. Lu Yin frowned. But I saw a trace that leads from your aunt's residence to the Scenic Cloud clan. It's very deep and someone should be moving around here often. Why hasn't anyone passed by? Yun looked ahead. A trace? Or up ahead, Yunwu's residence was filled with flowers, and there were no traces of anyone passing by. Lu Yin explained, "This is a trace of someone walking through space. Normal people can't see it, but I can because I cultivate Taishu. Do you want to take a look?" Yun nodded. Lu Yin raised a hand and gathered his void god power, causing lines to spread out and form a square diagram. One of the lines was twisting and Lu Yin pulled his hand back. The other lines dimmed and only that one continued to extend. That line represents a trace of someone walking through space. I'm sure that someone often goes to the scenic Cloud clan from your aunt's residence, but I don't know where that is. At the same time, Yunwu, who was the closest to Lu Yin, saw the square diagram flash by. Her expression turned grave as she walked out and looked into the distance. She saw the dim line that led from her courtyard to the scenic Cloud clan, and her expression changed. What was that? Many people from the scenic Cloud clan saw it as well, and they all flew over to where Yun was. "Young clan head? What's this?" the elder asked, looking at Lu Yin in confusion. Yun's expression sank. Outsiders did not know where the line led to, but she knew that it led to the library, which was where the scenic Cloud clan gathered information. Whether it was information from the void god spacetime, the front lines, or even the endless battlefield, anything that was related to the scenic Cloud clan would be received there. She looked in Yunwu's direction, unable to believe that her aunt had gone there. Lu Yin was curious. "What's that place?" The members of the scenic Cloud clan looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Yun looked at Lu Yin with a solemn expression. "Brother Xianxia, can you really see the traces left behind by void walking?" Although she had a good impression of Lu Yin, this wasn't a joke. Furthermore, she didn't believe that anyone would be able to see the traces left behind by a spatial walker. That was just too ridiculous. She had only been curious about what Lu Yin was talking about, which was why she had asked him to take action. However, she also suspected that Lu Yin had ulterior motives. Compared to Lu Yin, she was naturally more willing to believe her aunt, even if Lu Yin had been introduced by Zhou Xian. Lu Yin replied, "It seems like that place is very important to your scenic Cloud clan." Yun earnestly replied, "Brother Xianxia, I won't lie to you. That's where my scenic Cloud clan receives information from the outside world." "So that's how it is." Lu Yin understood and he fell silent for a moment before looking at Yun. "I don't know how to explain this, but the void is not formless. In the eyes of most people, space cannot be touched and it's just a concept. However, to some people, especially those who can interact with space, the void is as obvious as the earth." Lu Yin took a few steps back. "There are traces of our footsteps on the ground, and there are also traces of our footsteps in the void. Are you saying that it's the same as intercepting a conversation with a cloud connection stone?" Someone from the scenic Cloud clan asked. Lu Yin nodded. "Yes, that's right. The 6 parties would use cloud connection stones, and those who had cultivated their domain to the void god realm could intercept the contents of a conversation. If even that could be intercepted, then it would not be strange for traces to be left behind in space." Yun looked in the direction of Yunwu's residence, and her expression turned ugly. Someone who had sworn not to enter the clan's territory was constantly sneaking in, and he had even gone to the library. There was definitely something wrong. "Why hasn't Yunwu appeared yet?" an elder from the scenic Cloud clan asked. Yun's gaze turned cold and she headed towards Yunwu's residence. The others hurriedly followed behind her. Soon enough, the group arrived at a simple courtyard. At this moment, Yunwu was watering the flowers. When she saw Yun and the others, she was astonished. "Little Yun, why are you here?" Yun took a deep breath and smiled. "And yeah, I brought some guests." Yunwu's gaze swept across the group and stopped at Lu Yin's face. Her expression was cold. "The scenic Cloud clan's guests have nothing to do with me." Yun asked, "Since I'm here, aren't you going to invite me in?" Yunwu did not reply and continued watering the flowers. No one from the scenic Cloud clan said anything, as they were well aware of the relationship between Yunwu and the clan. "Does Senior not care about that line?" Lu Yin suddenly asked. Yunwu paused and looked at Lu Yin. "Why would I care?" Lu Yin was puzzled. "I admire Senior's peaceful nature, but have you never visited the scenic Cloud clan in all these years?" Yunwu frowned. "Are you questioning me?" She then looked at Yun. "Little Yun, you brought an outsider here to question me?" Yun replied, Auntie, he's not an outsider. He's Elder Su Xiangyin's most favored junior, and he's also Senior Su Wuwei's disciple. Many people believed that Lu Yin, who had learned Taishan, was Su Wuwei's disciple, and that Su Wuwei was not a guide. Yunwu was shocked. Senior Su Wuwei's disciple? Lu Yin looked at Yunwu. Senior, are you willing to answer this junior's question? Yunwu retracted her gaze. Let alone Senior Su Wuwei's disciple. So what if I'm the Void Master's disciple? I've never betrayed the Void God spacetime, nor have I betrayed the human race. Why should I be questioned by you? Yun asked. Then let me ask you, Auntie. Have you ever visited the clan in all these years? Yunwu was calm. Oh. Yun looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin's lips curled up. Space can't lie. That's what Senior Su Wuwei said. Senior, you've been to the Scenic Cloud clan more than once. That line is the path you took when traveling through space. Chapter 2609. When she heard Lu Yin's words, Yunwu sneered. What a joke. You can leave a path in space. Do you think they'll believe you? Or do you think that everyone will believe you just because you mention Senior Su Wuwei's name? The Scenic Cloud tribe members were skeptical as well. Su Wuwei's name was famous, but it was not enough for them to blindly believe him. Yun felt the same way. Lu Yin raised his hand and used Tai Jade again. This time everyone was astonished. Tai Jade was the power of the 5 void flavors. It was mysterious and unfathomable, and it was difficult to resist. Countless people wanted to learn it, but they were unable to find a master. Even Yun had secretly fallen in love with Lu Yin because of Tai Jade. Anyone in the Void God spacetime who saw Tai Jade would be shocked, and Yunwu was no exception. Space is like land, and you can leave traces behind. When you use Tai Jade, I found something strange about you. Why are you tearing through the void in your own residence? You can reach your destination in just a few steps, but you're walking through the void. Can you explain this to me? As Lu Yin spoke, his gaze fixed on a corner of the courtyard. Yunwu's expression changed and she suddenly turned around. Lu Yin had used his void god power to lift up the corner of the courtyard, revealing a scarlet vertical eye. Everyone's expressions changed. Yun's face darkened and she angrily shouted, Auntie. Yunwu instantly appeared in the corner, picked up the eye and fled. She had not expected to be discovered. She was a cautious person, and every time she used the eye to contact a corpse king, she would tear through the void and hide it in a corner. Her goal was to prevent others from discovering that she frequented that corner, and she did not want to place it in her cosmic ring to prevent any accidents from happening. Her caution was not wrong, as she would not step out of this region. Whether it was in the courtyard or in her cosmic ring, it would be the same. However, Lu Yin had read her memories and knew everything about her. He had used Tai Jade's name to scare people and easily found the scarlet vertical eye, exposing her. Lu Yin had been thinking about a problem during this time. Why did these spies use the scarlet vertical eye to communicate? If they were discovered, there would be no way to explain themselves. The only answer he could think of was to prevent eavesdropping. The Cloudstone could intercept communications, but the scarlet vertical eye could not. Another possibility was that it represented one's identity. Once the virtual god spacetime was broken by the Eternals, there was no way to prove one's identity. Only the scarlet vertical eye could be acknowledged by the Eternals. Yunwu picked up the scarlet eye and fled at an extremely fast speed. Only the elder from the Scenic Cloud tribe managed to react in time. The moment Yunwu fled, the elder attacked. A long spear appeared out of nowhere and stabbed out with majestic void god power. Yunwu's face turned pale. Chiodai fluttered in the air. Her ethereal god power was also boundless. Although her ethereal god power was weaker than the old man's, the amount of ethereal god power drawn out by Chiodai was no less than that of the spear. With a boom, the void god forces collided, destroying mountains and the earth. The void distorted and turned into a shockwave that swept through the Jingyun clan. The old man retreated several steps, and with a wave of his hand he thrust his spear forward once more. Yunwu was also sent retreating, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. She glared at Lu Yin coldly. Chiodai spread her wings to block the spear, and she took a step forward to tear through the void and escape. Aren't you looking down on Taishan too much? Lu Yin's voice rang out beside her ear. Yunwu's pupils shrank as a bone spike appeared in front of her and floated between her eyebrows. She did not know when it had appeared, but it simply floated there, causing her scalp to turn numb with killing intent. Qiu Dai landed on the ground and stopped attacking. Instead, her spear pierced through Yun Wu's shoulder and pinned her to the ground. Fresh blood flowed down the ground. Yun had a complicated expression. This aunt that she had respected since she was young was actually an eternal. He was a spy in the tribe. The other members of the Scenic Cloud tribe stared at Lu Yin in shock. This person had actually intimidated Yun Wu. Was this Tai Xian's power? Lu Yin withdrew his bone spike. The elder from the Scenic Cloud tribe stared at Lu Yin for a long time before walking over to Yun Wu. Little Wu, you've disappointed me. Yun Wu looked up and stared at the elder, her eyes filled with disgust. If not for that brat, you wouldn't have been able to take me down. The elder shook his head. Why did you betray the humans? Yun Wu sneered. Humans shouldn't exist. The Eternals are the only race that should exist in the universe. We can live forever and not be tied down by emotions. We can do whatever we want. What about humans? Birth, old age, sickness and death, scheming against each other and those disgusting emotions. Shut up. Yun barked. Elder, take her away. She's gone mad. The elder sighed, grabbed Yun Wu and left. The other members of the Scenic Cloud tribe fell silent, as no one would feel good about having a spy in their family. Lu Yin watched as Yun Wu was taken away. Her words had been completely controlled by Qing Kong, and she had always been loyal to the Eternals. Lu Yin did not know if there was a way to remove this control, and he also did not know how to deal with Yun Wu. Even if she was controlled, how would she make up for her mistakes? Yun. Lu Yin wanted to say something, but she interrupted him. Thank you, Brother Xianxia. Lu Yin sighed. How should we deal with her? Yun's expression turned ugly and she fell silent. Behind her, one of the Scenic Cloud tribe members said, Hand over all of the spies we've captured to the Heaven's Reflection Hall. We captured them ourselves, so they have nothing to do with the Heaven's Reflection Hall, someone else said. Yun frowned. Let's go back. The Scenic Cloud tribe members left. Lu Yin looked at her. Will they be handed over to the Heaven's Reflection Hall? Yun met Lu Yin's gaze. No. Lu Yin did not say anything, as this was an answer that he had expected. The Frigid School's authority in the astral trees far exceeded the Heaven's Reflection Hall's authority in the Six Direction Society. Even so, the spy from the Lu family had still been executed on the spot and not handed over to the Frigid School. This was not limited to the Scenic Cloud tribe. Lu Yin guessed that any other family in the Void God spacetime would deal with the spy themselves. They would not hand the spy over to the Heaven's Reflection Hall. This was one of the reasons why Su Lai had said that the Heaven's Reflection Hall was ineffective in the Six Direction Society. You're not handing it over to us? That won't do. A voice suddenly rang out. Yun and Lu Yin's expressions changed, and they looked up to see a person standing in the air. They did not know how long he had been standing there. Lu Yin had not sensed him at all. Senior Su Wuji? Lu Yin cried out. The newcomer was Su Wuji, and Lu Yin had not expected him to appear here. Yun bowed respectfully. Greetings, Senior Su Wuji. Su Wuji landed on the ground. He wore sunglasses and sipped on his drink as he sized Lu Yin up. Impressive, kid. Senior Su Wui's Tai Jade. Lu Yin was surprised. Why are you here, Senior? Su Wuji downed his drink in one gulp. It's all thanks to you that Su Guan disappeared. I could only look for a place to lie down, and when I passed by I saw a battle, so I decided to take a look. I didn't expect. He laughed strangely. Brat, I heard everything. Is that woman a spy? Yun felt bitter, but she bowed again. Senior must have come because you're worried about my Scenic Cloud tribe. Su Wuji replied, Your Scenic Cloud tribe has helped me in the past, and Su Xiangyin is not around. It would be unreasonable for me to not take a look at such a huge battle, so I just happened to pass by. Yun bowed again. Senior, please don't take Yunwu away. Su Wuji removed his sunglasses and moved closer to stare at Yun. Yun met his gaze, her gaze resolute. Su Wuji stared at her for a while and then helplessly said, Fine, I'll do you a favor. However, from now on I'm even with your Scenic Cloud tribe. Yun felt helpless. It was not worth it to use such a powerhouse's favor for Yunwu, but she could not be taken away. This was not because she wanted to protect Yunwu. It did not matter if Yunwu died, but she could not die as a spy. That would be a huge blow to the Scenic Cloud tribe and they would never be able to recover. Zhou Xian would not be able to protect the scenic cloud tribe for long, and it would not be easy for the tribe to rope in another void transformation realm powerhouse. The price that they would have to pay was not something that the current scenic cloud tribe could accept. Yun could only try her best to maintain the scenic cloud tribe's current situation. I won't take her away, but I'll have to consider how to deal with her, Su Wuji said. Of course, I won't make this matter public. Thank you, Senior, Yun said gratefully. Su Wuji glanced at Lu Yin. Speaking of which, how did you discover the spy? He had arrived after Autumn Butterfly had clashed with the spear, so he had not seen what had happened. He had only seen Lu Yin use Tai Jade to suppress Yunwu. Yun recounted what had happened and handed over the scarlet eye. Su Wuji was shocked and sized Lu Yin up. You can use Tai Jade to see spatial traces. Lu Yin humbly replied, just barely. Su Wuji's face twitched. How long has it been? Not only have you learned Tai Jade, but you can also use it to determine spatial traces. None of us expected this. Kid, are you interested in joining the Heaven's Reflection Hall? Yun was shocked and she quickly gave Lu Yin a look. The Heaven's Reflection Hall was not a good job. Lu Yin was astonished. Senior, are you from the Heaven's Reflection Hall? Su Wuji replied, Heaven's Reflection Hall, Hall Master of the Void God Universe. Lu Yin respectfully replied, thank you for your invitation, Senior. This junior will naturally not refuse. But Su Wuji saw the look that Yun was giving him. Brat, I just helped you and you're already going against me. Yun was helpless. Senior, you should know the situation in the Heaven's Reflection Hall. Brother Xianxia is not suitable. Su Wuji snorted. I think he's very suitable. I didn't even think of using Tai Jade to find spies, and even if I did, it would have been useless. We can't just ask Senior Su Wei to look for spies. Now that we have him, we might be able to catch even more spies. Yun grew anxious. Should we discuss this with Senior Su Wei? Su Wuji glared at her. It's just an errand. What's there to discuss? If Senior Su Wei doesn't agree, then we'll talk about it. We'll do it this way. He then tossed a pair of sunglasses at Lu Yin. Take this. This is the symbol of the Heaven's Reflection Hall. Wear it and you'll represent Su Wuji. Lu Yin was stunned and he stared at the sunglasses in his hand. Put it on, Su Wuji said. Lu Yin felt awkward and he looked at Yun. She had no choice but to look away. Joining the Heaven's Reflection Hall was part of Lu Yin's plan, but the sunglasses were not part of it. It was rather awkward to have to wear them. Under Su Wuji's constant urging, Lu Yin had no choice but to put on the sunglasses. Su Wuji was satisfied. Not bad, this is exactly what I wanted. With my everlasting mirror, you can go anywhere in the Void God universe and anyone can investigate. He then patted Lu Yin's shoulder in admiration. The Heaven's Reflection Hall should be handed over to youngsters like you. Come, I'll take you to meet the others. They'll be under your command in the future. Chapter 26:10. Lu Yin took off his sunglasses and was surprised. You're under my command? It was too hasty. He had just joined. Su Wuji said, none of those pieces of trash are useful. How many spies have you caught after so many years? With Tai Xian's help, you can capture as many as you want in the future. Of course, I'll listen to you. Senior, can you wait for a moment? I still have something to say to Yun, Lu Yin said. Su Wuji looked at Lu Yin and then at Yun. He sneered. Got it. There's no rush. With that, his body vanished as he stepped into outer space. After Su Wuji left, Yun said bitterly, Brother Xianxia, you shouldn't have agreed to Senior's request. It's not that easy for the Heaven's Mirror Manor to catch spies, and it'll offend too many people. Their reputation in the Six Direction Society is very bad. That's why I'm staying behind. If I go to the Heaven's Reflection Hall, the people there definitely won't tell me the truth, Lu Yin said. Yun sighed and told him everything she knew about the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Lu Yin had learned from Su Lai that the Heaven's Reflection Manor was in a bad situation, but he had not expected it to be this bad. The Heaven's Reflection Manor was fundamentally different from the Humble School. Even though they both captured spies, the Humble School had the Lu clan's support from the start. Even after the Lu clan was exiled and the Four Cardinal Scales took control, the Progenitor Realm experts remained in the Sovereign Realm to fight against the Eternals in order to stabilize their rear. As a result, the Humble School with Wuxia in charge, could do almost anything they wanted. Apart from the Lu clan, the Farmer clan, and a few other great clans, they could capture anyone they suspected. No one could resist. On the surface, the Heaven's Mirror Manor had progenitor powerhouses in the Six Direction Association's civilization, but in the current civilization, a single progenitor was clearly not enough to support the Heaven's Mirror Manor's actions. Su Wuji was the manor master of the Heaven's Mirror Manor in the Void God universe, but even with his support, the Heaven's Mirror Manor could not do whatever they wanted in the Void God universe. There were too many conflicts of interest between the two organizations, and the Everlasting Race's spies had to be important people as well. For example, if Lu Yin had not coincidentally entered her body to read her memories, who would have thought that she was a spy? Even after revealing her identity, Su Wuji had not been able to take her away, as he had to return the favor to the Jingyun family. This was the difference between the Heaven's Mirror Manor and the humble class. Wuxia owed the Lu clan a favor at most, but with Wuxia's character, it didn't matter who he owed a favor to. He would still capture those who needed to be captured. He was also extremely powerful, enough to make Bai Wangyuan and the others wary. However, Su Wuji was tied down by the Jingyun family's favor. This was only the first point. Another point was that many spies were not willing, but were controlled by Qing Kong's dreamy bubbles. Such people were troublesome. Even if they were captured, how to deal with them was a problem. Spies were not ordinary people, and they had a lot of people behind them. It was impossible to directly execute them. If they were not executed, it would be hard to convince the masses. This led to the Heaven Mirror Manor capturing spies. As long as they refused to admit that they were willing, they would say that they were controlled by Qing Kong. The Heaven Mirror Manor was helpless. This was the current situation of the Heaven Mirror Manor. First, finding spies was a problem. Then whether or not they could be captured was another problem. Once captured, how to deal with them was yet another problem. These problems were intertwined, and the Heaven Mirror Manor was unable to do anything. The Heaven Mirror Manor's original intention was to capture spies and corpse kings. If they did nothing, others would complain. For example, Su Lai had caused trouble for the Heaven Mirror Manor after he had been ambushed while traveling through spacetime with Lu Yin. He had questioned why the Heaven Mirror Manor had not detected the two corpse kings' tracks beforehand. Those who had been exposed as spies but admitted that they were controlled by Qing Kong were also dissatisfied with the Heaven Mirror Manor. After all, even if spies were controlled by Qing Kong, they would still be recorded, which was equivalent to being destroyed. This caused the Heaven Mirror Manor to be in an awkward position. This was why most people in the Six Direction Society had the impression that the Heaven Mirror Manor was just a place to be scolded. This place was completely meaningless. Brother Xianxia, please contact Senior Su Wei and ask him to let you leave the Heaven Mirror Manor, Yun advised. Lu Yin replied, if I leave the Heaven Mirror Manor now, I'll be offending Senior Su Wuji. Yun was troubled. If I join the Heaven Mirror Manor for too long, my reputation will be tarnished. Lu Yin muttered to himself. Tarnished? That wasn't bad, but the Heaven Mirror Manor situation was worse than he had imagined. At that moment, the Cloud Vision stone vibrated and Yun accepted the call. She then put down her hand. Auntie can't explain why she became a spy, but there's only one explanation for this situation. She's being controlled by Qing Kong? Yun nodded. I don't know if she's faking it or not, but in any case, all spies say the same thing when they're caught. If Auntie really is being controlled by Qing Kong, then she didn't do what she did willingly. Even Senior Su Wuji would find it difficult to deal with such a situation. In the end, she'll be recorded and imprisoned until the day that there's a way to remove Qing Kong's control. Qing Kong alone made it difficult for the Heaven Mirror Manor to continue capturing spies. Fortunately, there was no existence like Qing Kong in the Astral Tree realm. Otherwise, the commoner's situation would not be much better. Although Wuxia was not afraid of anyone, he was assigned to different commoners, and there were many people from different families within the commoners. Yun, I understand what you're saying. For the time being, I definitely won't be able to leave the Heaven Mirror Manor, Lu Yin said. He then bid farewell to Yun and left the Scenic Cloud clan, heading into outer space. Yun sighed. She didn't know if it was because Lu Yin had joined the Heaven Mirror Manor or because Yunwu had become a spy. She had received a lot of information on this day. In outer space outside the Scenic Cloud clan, Su Wuji looked at Lu Yin with interest. That girl should have said everything she needed to say. What do you think now? Lu Yin was curious. Senior, why are you the Heaven Mirror Manor's manor head? Is there something strange about that? Su Wuji raised a brow. Lu Yin asked, since the Heaven Mirror Manor is in such a state, and you're not the type to look for trouble, why are you still the manor head? Su Wuji flicked his sunglasses. Will you be able to join the Heaven Mirror Manor without worry if I answer your question? Lu Yin smiled. Regardless of whether Senior answers my question or not, I will still join the Heaven Mirror Manor. Oh? That makes me curious. Su Wuji was astonished. Lu Yin sighed. There are some things that need to be done. Since I can contribute to the search for spies, why not? You worked so hard to capture a spy, but in the end you might not receive the punishment you wanted. How can you tolerate that? Su Wuji asked. Lu Yin replied, let's capture him first. Su Wuji laughed and put his sunglasses back on. To tell you the truth, I became the manor head purely out of luck. It's not some grand dream and it's not that inspiring. I just lost by drawing lots. Lu Yin blinked. This answer was unexpected, but it also made sense. How is it? Does your heart sink? Su Wuji teased. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. A little. It feels like there's no one to back me up. Su Wuji replied, you don't have to worry about that. Although I was forced to become the manor head, I will still do what I need to do and shoulder the responsibilities that I need to shoulder. Don't worry and boldly go find a spy. No matter what his status or background is, if anyone tries to stop you, just use my name. Lu Yin probed. What if the person you're capturing has a powerful background? Can it be more powerful than mine? Su Wuji glared at Lu Yin. Don't worry and boldly do it. Lu Yin smiled. I understand. Don't worry, Senior. Su Wuji was satisfied. Young man, you should be arrogant when doing things. As long as you confirm that he's a spy, that'll prove that he's the manor head's son. Even if he's the manor head's son, I can still help you capture him. Su Wuji's neck shrank back as he cursed himself for speaking too quickly. He hurriedly said, of course the manor head doesn't have a son. Let's go, I'll take you to the headquarters. With Su Wuji leading the way, their speed was very fast. They tore through the void and arrived at a dark red star region. Here the sky was dark red and so were the planets. It was not a scorching red. Red was just a color that stretched as far as the eye could see. This is the headquarters of my Heaven's Mirror Manor, and people call it the Red Domain. There's nothing special about it, and it's only because of the astronomical phenomena that this place is completely red. It was Gui San's idea to choose this place, as he said that it looked more dignified. Su Wuji then led Lu Yin into the Red Domain. Soon after, Lu Yin saw the headquarters of the Heaven's Mirror Manor on a planet. It was a dilapidated city, but the architectural style was very grand. The lowest building was 100 meters tall, and the tallest was a clock tower that was tall enough to pierce through the atmosphere and into outer space. Clang. A loud clang startled Lu Yin as it had come from the clock tower. The sound was so loud that it caused ripples in the void that spread out in all directions like the surface of a lake. Lu Yin was stunned, as this was the first time he had heard such a loud bell sound. How is it? This bell sound is good, right? Anyone who comes here will hear it. Don't look at how the outside world says that my Heaven's Mirror Manor is meaningless. In reality, we capture a group of spies every year. The spies that the everlasting race personally nurtures have too many conflicts of interest, and it's very difficult to find them. However, those spies will always give themselves away, Su Wuji said. Lu Yin nodded. The bell sound is indeed very loud. This city was moved here as well. It originally belonged to a giant race, but that race was unlucky and was completely wiped out by the everlasting race. So, I simply moved that city here and it looks very intimidating. Su Wuji then led Lu Yin into the city. Lu Yin paid special attention to the city gate, where the words Heaven's Mirror Manor were written. There are 3,600 people in the Heaven's Mirror Manor, and they are divided into 5 groups of 100 people each. The leaders are Guan Lao de Gui San Ning Ran Yu Pai and Old Crazy. Operations Team Guan Lao de Yu Pai. Search Team Old Crazy Gui San. Interrogation Team Ning Ran. The rest are left to guard the Heaven's Mirror Manor. I am responsible for receiving information, assigning resources and assigning missions. Lu Yin sat on the top floor of the clock tower and quietly listened to the report of a middle-aged man in front of him. This man was the Heaven's Mirror Manor's housekeeper, and he was also known as the Manor Steward. Su Wuji had just explained to Lu Yin that he would temporarily be in charge of the Heaven's Mirror Manor from this day onwards. Through the cracks in the walls, Lu Yin could see the city's scenery. This city had experienced the destruction of an entire race, and bloodstains could be seen everywhere, including the moat. The buildings outside looked tall, but they were already in tatters and would crumble at the slightest touch. After the manor steward finished his report, he looked at Lu Yin with a calm expression. "May I ask if Lord Xianxia has any other questions?" Lu Yin replied, 5 groups. The entire Heaven's Mirror Manor's executive power rests on these 5 groups. I want to see them. The manor steward raised a hand and used the cloud connection stone to contact Lu Yin. Chapter 26:11. Soon after, the first person arrived. It was an old man with a sloppy appearance and messy hair that made him look like a lunatic. When he saw Lu Yin, he looked at the steward in confusion. The steward invited him to sit down. Lu Yin closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. Soon after, the second person arrived, a man with a green blade on his back. He looked at Lu Yin and then at the steward, but the steward did not say anything. The man snorted and sat down as well. The third person was a skinny man, and his arrival caused Lu Yin to open his eyes. It was not that this person was strong, but rather that he was too weak. Lu Yin could tell at a glance that this person had just broken through to the Void Realm, which meant that he was a first-stage astral envoy. How could someone with such a cultivation be a team leader? The man flashed a fawning smile at Lu Yin, which reminded Lu Yin of Ku Wei. Soon after, a woman arrived. She was very beautiful, but there were green-veined patterns on her face that made her look rather strange. There was also a toad sitting on her shoulder. Lu Yin stared at the toad and the toad stared back at him. The woman looked at the steward. "Was the master here?" The steward politely replied, "Yes, he was here to appoint Lord Xianxia as the acting master. From today onwards, Lord Xianxia will be in charge of all matters of the Horizon Manor." The 4 looked at Lu Yin in astonishment. "Him?" The man with the green blade on his back raised his brows and turned to look at Lu Yin. His gaze was fierce, and there were traces of red in the depths of his eyes. He reached out and grabbed the hilt of his blade, causing a terrifying aura to sweep out towards Lu Yin. It was as if the void was being sliced apart. The others did not interfere and merely watched the show. Lu Yin found this funny. Was this a test? He did not even move, allowing the blade-like aura to sweep past him. He looked very relaxed. The man lowered his hand. "Not bad." Ning Ran frowned. "What special ability does he have to become the acting master?" Not everyone could see through Lu Yin's cultivation level. From Lu Yin's point of view, only that old man could see through his cultivation level because that old man was at the Void Transformation Realm. The others were all at the Void Luminous Realm. No one's cultivation level surpassed Lu Yin's. The steward did not answer Ning Ran's question. Ning Ran looked at Lu Yin. "In terms of cultivation, it is impossible for you to surpass the master. Since he has appointed you as the acting master, what special abilities do you have?" "What special abilities do you want?" Lu Yin asked. Ning Jin replied, "Capture the spy." Lu Yin smiled. "I can." Ning Ran looked at Lu Yin and then fell silent. "What is this toad?" Lu Yin was curious. Ning Jin replied, "I'll be in charge of the interrogation. This is my innate void spirit venomous toad. Very few people can withstand its poison." "Is that so?" Lu Yin suddenly thought of someone. Miss Child. Her innate gift was that the stronger the poison she consumed, the more powerful her body would become. It had been a long time since he had seen someone like her. "Didn't you say there were 5 team leaders? Where's the other one?" Lu Yin asked. The housekeeper replied, "Guan Laude didn't come." "You went out to catch spies?" Lu Yin asked. The housekeeper said bluntly, "I don't want to come. The answer is yes, I don't like Master Xianxia." The other 4 did not react. Apparently they were used to it. Lu Yin raised an eyebrow. "So direct. What's his cultivation level?" "Peak of the Void Luminous Realm," said the old man. Lu Yin nodded. "He has character and value. Let's not bother about him." He then sat up straight and scanned the group. "I just found out that Yunwu from the Scenic Cloud clan is a spy. The manor head has already given the order not to leak any information. All you need to do is find everyone who has interacted with Yunwu and give me a list." He then looked at the man with the green blade. "You're Yu Pai, right?" Go to the Scenic Cloud clan and verify the list with them. Yungwu is definitely not acting alone. Yu Pai was stunned. The Scenic Cloud clan? The others looked at Lu Yin in shock. He had just arrived and he had already made a contribution? Lu Yin looked at them solemnly. Although I've just arrived and am not familiar with you all, capturing spies is a big deal for the sake of the entire human race. I don't wish for anyone to go against me. Or perhaps you all wish for me to show my might. Yu Pai stood up. There's no need for that. We joined the Heavens Examiner Manor to capture spies. We won't let go of any clues. The old man and Gui San left as well, leaving only the housekeeper and Ning Ran behind. Where's Yungwu? Ning Ran asked. Lu Yin shrugged. The manor head didn't bring her back. Ning Ran's expression darkened and she turned to leave. The housekeeper asked, Does Lord Xianxia have any instructions? Where's Guan Laoda? He's in the northwest corner of the city. Lu Yin had originally wanted to ignore him, but after some thought he decided that it wouldn't take much effort, so he might as well take care of him. The Heavens Examiner Manor's situation was clear, and it was hated by countless people. Anyone who had joined under such circumstances had either been forced to do so, or they really wanted to take care of the spies. Although Su Wuji did not manage the Heavens Examiner Manor much, appointing a team leader was not child's play. Su Wuji would still observe the person, and since he had confirmed that Guan Laoda was the team leader, it meant that there was nothing wrong with this person. Perhaps Guan Laoda was a little arrogant, but as Su Wuji had said, young people should be arrogant and despotic. When Lu Yin saw Guan Laoda, the man was drinking with his subordinates and completely ignored Lu Yin. Lu Yin then used Tai Xian and a bone spike floated between Guan Laoda's eyebrows. This scene had happened far too many times. However, seeing Tai Xian in the Heavens Examiner Manor shocked everyone, and they all looked at Lu Yin differently. The steward no longer spoke to Lu Yin calmly and his tone was filled with respect. Guan Laoda was the same. He had been arrogant before but now he was obedient. Master, leave the Scenic Cloud clan to me. Yu Pai's cultivation is too low and they won't take him seriously. Lu Yin replied, There's no need for that. Just wait here and I'll have something for you to do. Subduing Guan Laoda was too easy. There was a half-ancestor at the general appointing platform, and there was even a progenitor imprisoned in the Ionian kingdom. More than 10 days had passed between Yu Pai's arrival at the Scenic Cloud clan and the list of names that had been sent to Lu Yin. Cloud Dance thought of a way to isolate herself from the Scenic Cloud clan so that no one would suspect her of stealing information from the clan. Given her cautiousness, she'll do everything she can to reduce suspicion, which is also her weakness. This cautiousness allowed me to find the symbol of the Ionian tribe, and it also allowed us to see who her contacts are. Her contacts with these people are definitely open and above board, but the spies that contact her are definitely hidden amongst them, Lu Yin said as he looked at the list of names in front of him. Guan Laoda, Yu Pai, the other captains and the steward all sat at the front listening to Lu Yin speak. Many of them could think of the same thing, but finding the spies was the most troublesome part as they couldn't just capture all of them. Anyone who could associate with Cloud Dance was no ordinary person. Lu Yin didn't know what he was talking about, but he wanted to confirm the list for one person. Investigate this person. Lu Yin circled a name on the list and tossed it to the captains. They all looked over. Jun. Master, is there something wrong with this Jun? Gui San asked. Yes. Gui San looked at the others. The elder spoke up. This Jun isn't an ordinary person. Her appearance and talent are the best in the Void God spacetime, and she has a large number of followers, including many descendants of virtual realm powerhouses. She once joined the Endless Battlefield to save her father, and she made great contributions there. She's very famous and has connections with many powerhouses. This woman isn't easy to investigate. Lu Yin looked up. That's why I'm certain that there's something wrong with her. If I were an Ionian, I would also choose to make her a spy. But she made great contributions in the Endless Battlefield, Yu Pai couldn't help but say. Lu Yin asked, On what basis? Everyone was stunned. Lu Yin continued, What was her cultivation level when she joined the Endless Battlefield? She was just a virtual realm cultivator, and yet she was able to make such great contributions. That's the Endless Battlefield, and even virtual transformation realm powerhouses can't guarantee their survival if they enter. How can a mere virtual realm cultivator make such great contributions? What a joke. No one refuted this as it did sound ridiculous. Of course, I'm not saying that it's completely impossible, but the possibility is very low. The way I see it, there's one way to make sure that she made great contributions. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. The Ionians. The Ionians deliberately made her make contributions? The elder was shocked. Lu Yin said, that's something I can think of. Since I've joined the Heaven's Mirror Manor, I have to think of the worst. Evidence is needed to prove that she's a spy, but conjectures don't. Next, the Heaven's Mirror Manor only has one mission. Lu Yin pressed down on the list, investigate Yi Jun. The person who had exchanged information with Yunwu was Yi Jun. This woman was a spy, and Lu Yin wanted her to be on the list so that he could have a reasonable opportunity to investigate her. Otherwise, investigating Yi Jun for no apparent reason would be too unreasonable. Even though Lu Yin's reason for investigating was a little far-fetched, his last sentence was correct. Everything had to be thought of in the worst-case scenario, and this sentence could explain many things. Lu Yin had given the order, and everyone in the Heaven's Mirror Manor's target was Yi Jun, regardless of whether they were willing to investigate her or not. However, the investigation did not go smoothly, and the Heaven's Mirror Manor could only find external information about Yi Jun. They could not meet her at all. The Heaven's Mirror Manor could not expose their identity and investigate her openly either. Otherwise, not only would Yi Jun be on guard, but they would also encounter great obstacles. Yi Jun isn't someone who just anyone can meet. There are too many people who want to meet her every day. Unless we reveal our identity as the Heaven's Mirror Manor and investigate her openly, we won't be able to meet her. Yu Pai was distressed. Guan Laoda added, I can use another identity to meet her, but I don't know how long I'll have to wait. Even someone like you who's at the peak of the Void Realm can't meet her? This woman is quite ostentatious, Lu Yin muttered. Guan Laoda smiled bitterly, there's no other way. Unless you can reach the pinnacle in a certain area, you'll have to wait slowly to meet her. Pinnacle? Lu Yin was confused. What does that mean? It means the pinnacle, the old man said, his hair disheveled. For example, being the number one in your generation, being the strongest Void Realm cultivator, or having made a great contribution. Can I pass the Void Gate? Lu Yin asked. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. The steward was stunned. You passed the Void Gate? Guan Laoda was speechless. You were the one who passed the Void Gate? Lu Yin replied, it was me. It should be fine. Everyone looked at Lu Yin in a different light. Chapter 26:12. Ning Ran was shocked. No one has been able to pass the Void Gate for countless years. How did you do it? Master, you're amazing, Gui San said in admiration. The old man's gaze towards Lu Yin changed, ruthless. Lu Yin said, all right, since it's possible, let's go meet her. I want to see just what kind of charm this Yi Jun has to attract so many people to line up. There are two types of people lining up to meet Yi Jun. The first are those who admire her and want to marry her, while the second are those who want to ask about the situation in the endless battlefield. It's said that she has a group of comrades who have gone through life and death with her, and they contact her every once in a while. Many people want to know more about the endless battlefield and their families or friends, the old man said as he followed behind Lu Yin. He was old, deranged, and the reason Lu Yin had brought him along was because of his unique skill, Qianquan sniff, which allowed him to determine whether someone had contacted him before or not. Lu Yin discovered that the people from Heaven's Mirror Manor didn't know that Old Deranged was a half-step ancestor, and they only thought that he had become a team leader because of his Qianquan sniff. At this moment, Old Deranged wasn't as disheveled as he had been in Heaven's Mirror Manor. Instead, he had combed his hair and looked like a kind teacher. The two of them were currently on Yi Jun, and the planet had been named after her. It was a reward from the Void God universe for her contributions in the endless battlefield. This Yi Jun is very hospitable. Is she willing to meet these people? Lu Yin asked. Old Deranged was speechless. No, but there aren't many people who can meet her. It's impossible for just anyone to meet her. Yi Jun resided at the foot of a huge mountain. A waterfall flowed down from the peak, filling the sky with white mist. It was very beautiful, and the sound of the zither cleansed one's soul. There were people shouting at the foot of the mountain hoping to meet Yi Jun, but no one succeeded. My appetite is the best among my peers. Please meet Yi Jun. This attracted a wave of mockery. I'm good at painting and would like to draw one for Yi Jun, This also attracted mockery. My name is... Lu Yin, an old deranged, watched from afar. The more they shouted, the less likely it was to meet Yi Jun. My name is Bo Qi. I've made an appointment and would like to meet Yi Jun. The waterfall suddenly stopped, and a stream of water separated from the waterfall and connected to the young man's feet. Young Master Bo Qi, please. A voice came from the stream of water. Young Master Bo Qi stepped on the water and headed towards the mountain peak, attracting the envy of the surrounding people. That's the young master of the Fu clan. I heard that the head of the Fu clan is currently in the endless battlefield. This young Master Bo Qi must be here to find out about the head of the Fu clan, someone commented. Even though Yi Jun has friends in the boundless battlefield, she can't possibly know how everyone is doing. You don't know about this. The boundless battlefield gathers information and transmits it to the Six Direction Society, and then the Six Direction Society transmits the information to many parallel universes. The reason why Yi Jun is so popular is because one of her good friends has access to this information. This information includes the names of the experts who died and the names of those who performed meritorious deeds. The head of the Fu clan is at the peak of the Void Bright Realm, so he is worthy of being mentioned in the battle situation. Sir Bo Qi is looking for Yi Jun to ask her to keep an eye out for the head of the Fu clan. That's true. With Yi Jun's ability, it's impossible for her to directly investigate the situation of someone in the boundless battlefield, but she can pay attention to this information. Perhaps she can mention the Fu clan's leader. Not long after, Bo Qi walked out with a pale face. Someone asked him what happened. He didn't say anything and just walked away. There was no news from the mountain peak, as this information couldn't have been leaked out so easily. Lu Yin walked out with the crazy old man. Xianxia, you've passed the void gate. Can you meet Yi Jun? The crowd who had been watching the commotion felt that they had misheard. What did he say? Past the void gate? Past the void gate? He's the one who passed the void gate? It's actually him. There were constant cries of surprise, which showed just how much Lu Yin had shocked them. On the mountain peak, the zither music stopped abruptly and a pleasant voice sounded out. It didn't belong to the person who had just spoken. This voice was even softer and gentler. Xianxia, please wait a moment. Lu Yin looked at the mountain peak. There were no experts on Yi Jun, and the strongest was only at the peak of the Void Bright Realm. They weren't on the mountain peak either, so if he wanted to, he could do whatever he wanted. He could even capture this girl directly. He was very clear that she was a spy. This woman could receive information about the endless battlefield, which meant that she was very important to the everlasting race. He waited patiently. Soon, a figure descended from the waterfall, carrying a beautiful aura. Her face was as white as jade and her face was flushed red. She landed in front of Lu Yin and bowed. Yi Jun greets Xianxia. They had been waiting here for a long time, but they had never seen Yi Jun treat a young man like this. Lu Yin smiled. Miss Yi Jun, you're too polite. There's no need to welcome me personally. Yi Jun smiled. You can't be careless with young Master Xianxia. The Su Pass was built by the Su Master and represents the Nihility universe. Young Master Xianxia, in order to join the Nihility universe, you didn't hesitate to break through the Su Pass and risk your life. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Not many people knew why he had passed the Void Gate. In the Void God spacetime, no, in the Six Direction Society, there were many who passed the Void Gate without needing a reason. However, Yi Jun knew that he had done so to join the Void God spacetime. This woman had some tricks up her sleeve. Xianxia, please. Yi Jun raised a hand, revealing a flawless arm that was dazzling to the eyes. Lu Yin smiled and nodded, leading the crazy old man and Yi Jun into the peak. After they left, the crowd finally reacted and looked on enviously. This was the difference between people. Yi Jun had personally welcomed Yi Jun, while they didn't even have the right to speak to her. Yi Jun received Lu Yin in a pavilion above the waterfall. The pavilion spanned across the waterfall and the surroundings were filled with water vapor. Lush greenery hung down from the pavilion, and it was a beautiful sight. Lu Yin could see the people waiting outside and seeing their anxious and expectant expressions, he looked at Yi Jun. Do you like this place? Yi Jun replied, I can't help it. The people below all want to see me, but I can't meet everyone. I also can't ask my sister to keep an eye on the endless battlefield, so I can only stay here and play the zither for them. I'll try to calm them down and see who's the most anxious. Maybe I can help them. Lu Yin praised, Miss Yi Jun is so kind. Yijun shook her head. Xianxia, don't tease me. I'm just an ordinary girl and I have more connections. I'll help everyone. They sat down and the crazy old man stood behind Lu Yin. Yijun was curious. Senior? He's a servant, don't mind him, Lu Yin said. Yijun was curious. I've never heard of Xianxia having a servant. You must have taken him in recently, or was it a gift from Senior Su Wei? The crazy old man raised a brow. Gift? That word sounded harsh. Lu Yin remained calm. It seems like Miss Yijun is very interested in me. You know a lot about Xianxia. Yijun smiled. Many people bring interesting news from the outside world when they come here. There's quite a bit about Xianxia. Was there any bad news? Lu Yin teased. Yijun smiled. Yes, little you said that she's very dissatisfied with you. Lu Yin was surprised. Su Yu? It seems like you have a deep impression of her, Yijun said. Lu Yin asked. Su Yu's back? What about Suji? They're all back. They came to find me yesterday. If you'd come a day earlier you could have caught up with them. They missed you very much. Yijun stood up and personally poured tea for Lu Yin. Her fingers were slender and her pure white skin was very beautiful. There was also an indescribable fragrance that made one feel refreshed. Lu Yin couldn't help but move closer and take a deep breath. What's this fragrance? Yijun hurriedly retreated and glared at him. You're too much, sir. Lu Yin reacted and quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Miss Yijun. I rarely come into contact with women, so I'm really sorry. How about this? I'll punish myself with a cup. He picked up the cup and drained it in one gulp, causing Yijun to laugh. If you want to punish someone, it should be wine. Sir, are you using tea in place of wine? Lu Yin smiled. I don't drink, sorry for making fun of me. It's good that you don't drink. Drinking tea is better for you to experience life. You're very emotional. Mississippi looks like you've experienced a lot. Life and death in the endless battlefield. I've indeed experienced a lot. You stepped onto the battlefield to save your father, which is admirable. Xianxia salutes you. Yijun hurriedly replied. I wouldn't dare. Sir Xianxia passing the void gate is admirable. Compared to you, Yijun's small contributions are like fireflies. Lu Yin laughed heartily. Behind him, the crazy old man remained calm. The manor head seemed to be enjoying himself, and he had to admit that Yijun was beautiful to the point of arousal. Would the manor head be charmed by her? Yijun looked at the crazy old man. Lu Yin glanced at him. Are you not feeling well? No, I just choked, the crazy old man said. Lu Yin smiled at Yijun. It's really fragrant here, I'm also choking. Yijun rolled her eyes. If you don't like it, sir, I'll go change. She then bowed and left. Lu Yin watched her leave and asked, how was it? The crazy old man replied, I definitely did, and more than once. Lu Yin grunted. He obviously knew this, but he needed the Heaven's Reflection Hall's confirmation. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to confirm it alone without the support of others. Not long after, Yijun changed into a black robe that accentuated her exquisite figure. Sorry to keep you waiting, Sir Xianxia. Right, what did you come here to ask? Lu Yin replied, the endless battlefield. I want to know the situation there. Yijun didn't understand. If you want to know more about the endless battlefield, you can ask Senior Five Tastes or the Void Yang and Void Yin clans. Why ask me? Lu Yin's lips curled up. I don't like to trouble people I know. Yijun laughed. You're really interesting. Alright, I'll explain it to you. The Endless Battlefield is the largest battlefield used by the Hexagon Association against the Eternals. It's also known as the 100 Alliance Battlefield. It's formed by 62 parallel spacetime civilizations discovered by the Hexagon Association. Chapter 26:13. Lu Yin naturally knew what Yijun was talking about. Back then, Shi Jiao had used this to persuade Lu Yin to fight for the position of sanctification so that he could help Zhou Xian, who had reached the end of his lifespan and needed to go to the endless battlefield. This was because more than 20 light ancestors had died in the endless battlefield, not to mention the countless half-ancestors that had died there. That was the millstone of life and death, and no one could be sure that they could leave the endless battlefield alive. Rather than saying that the endless battlefield is the final battle between the Six-Party Association and the Eternals, it's more accurate to say that it's the front line of the Six-Party Association's invasion of the Eternals, Yijun said. Lu Yin was astonished. Invasion. He had never heard anyone mention this before. Yijun continued. Why is the Eternals so fixated on the endless battlefield? It's because once they let go of the endless battlefield and allow the Six-Party Association to control it, they can directly invade the Eternals. They can attack at close range or retreat at will. This is something that the Eternals cannot accept, so both sides are frantically increasing their manpower in the endless battlefield to wear each other down. Every day, every hour, and even every breath there are people dying. It's the largest and cruelest battlefield since the dawn of humanity. Lu Yin tapped his fingers on the table. This was the first time he had heard of such a thing. No wonder the endless battlefield was such a huge battlefield. If he were the Eternals, he would not fight against the Six-Party Association on the same battlefield. He would definitely think of ways to invade various spacetimes and even gather the 7 sky gods to destroy them one by one. The Eternals did not do this because they could not. Once they did not have enough strength to defend the endless battlefield, the Six-Party Association would be able to invade the Eternals. The sole true god could destroy any parallel spacetime if he had the chance, and powerhouses like the Grand Empyreans, including Void Master and the Ruler of Wood, could also invade the Eternals if they had the chance and destroy what was most important to them. Neither side could bear such losses, which was why the endless battlefield had been created. Right, Lu Yin suddenly remembered that the desolate ancestor had killed his way into the Eternals alone. How had he done it? Had he also passed through the endless battlefield? So, had he left behind any legends of killing in the endless battlefield? Was the endless battlefield the only place where one could directly enter the Eternals? In theory, it was impossible for the Eternals to casually invade the Six-Party Association, which meant that humans could not casually enter the Eternals as well. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Yin's mind. Yijun continued to speak and Lu Yin listened quietly. This woman was truly knowledgeable about the endless battlefield. Today's trip had not been in vain. After drinking 7 cups of tea, Yijun finally finished. Lu Yin sighed. I never thought that the endless battlefield would be even crueler than I imagined. Yijun said, if you don't go to the boundless battlefield, you'll never be able to understand the cruelty of the battlefield. Ordinary cultivators might not even be able to see a void transformation realm cultivator, let alone an emptiness realm cultivator. However, in the boundless battlefield, it's possible to encounter an emptiness realm cultivator on the first day. Lu Yin picked up his teacup. Miss Yijun, I admire you. It's no wonder why you're being treated like this. Yijun said, young Master Xianxia, you don't have to admire me. If it weren't for the help of my comrades, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish anything, and I wouldn't have been able to bring my father back. If young Master Xianxia doesn't mind, you can call me Yijun. Alright, then I won't stand on ceremony. Yijun. Lu Yin smiled. Yijun blinked. Then can I call you Big Brother Xianxia? Of course. Lu Yin spent most of the day chatting with Yijun. This woman understood the Void God spacetime very well. It would be great if she wasn't a spy. Lu Yin sighed. But then again, if she wasn't a spy, she wouldn't have been able to return alive from the endless battlefield. Had this woman willingly betrayed the humans and become a spy, or had she been controlled by Qing Kong? He wouldn't be able to tell if he didn't fuse with her memories. Lu Yin left with Old Crazy. Yijun sent them off from afar, and when they were completely gone, her face sank. They had talked so much, but she hadn't been able to see through this person's goal at all. Was he here just to understand the endless battlefield? Go and find out who that old man beside Xianxia is, Yijun ordered. Although she was well informed, it was impossible for her to find out that Lu Yin had joined the Heaven's Mirror Manor. This had only happened recently, and neither the Heaven's Mirror Manor nor the Scenic Cloud clan would have leaked this information. A shadow disappeared behind her. Manor Lord, we can only prove that this woman is related to Yunwu, but we can't prove that she's a spy, Old Crazy said. Lu Yin replied, Yunwu's matter hasn't been leaked. Yunwu hid her scarlet eye, which means that Yijun can't contact Yunwu. Only Yunwu can contact this Yijun, and they're doing it by meeting each other. This makes things easier. You're saying? Impersonating Yunwu? Old Crazy asked, but he immediately shook his head. No, they must have a special way to recognize each other. They're both spies, so it's impossible to tell them apart by appearance. I have my ways, Lu Yin said. Our Heaven's Mirror Manor is understaffed. Come, I'll take you to find someone. Old Crazy was curious. Find someone? No one is willing to join the Heaven's Mirror Manor, and we're very strict when it comes to accepting new members. Lu Yin ignored him and headed off in a certain direction. Through his conversation with Yijun, he knew where Su Ji and Su Yu were, and he wanted to pull them into the Heaven's Mirror manor. People like Su Ji and Su Yu were the most suitable to deal with people with conflicting interests. With Su Ji and Su Yu's backgrounds, who couldn't they capture? Even though their families weren't very strong and didn't have any virtual realm powerhouses, Su Ji had obtained the astral stone disc and become a bonded virtual god. He had even met the Void Master before, which was an honor that few people in the Void God spacetime could achieve. No one knew what Su Ji had said or done after meeting the Void Master. Some guessed that he was the Void Master's disciple, while others guessed that he was the Void Master's in-name disciple. Regardless of his identity, no one in the Void God spacetime dared to offend him. If someone like him joined the Heaven's Mirror manor, it would save Lu Yin a lot of trouble, and this was only the first step. His goal wasn't just the Void God spacetime. It wasn't difficult to find Su Ji and Su Yu as they were too famous. At this moment, Su Yu was sparring with someone. She had used her innate gift of Thunderwood and her stone door battle techniques, which caused many to sigh in amazement. This was the effect that the Void God spacetime wanted: to attract people to join the 6 directional training halls, merge civilizations and increase power. Su Yu had used her stone puppet battle techniques and her innate gift of Thunderwood to easily defeat an expert whose Void God power surpassed hers. Her pride was greatly satisfied and she was very proud. After returning from the 6 directional training halls, they had been given this mission: to spar in various places in the Void God spacetime and let the cultivators of the Void God spacetime see the effects of the convergence of civilizations. It wasn't just them. The 6 directional training halls were doing the same in other spacetimes as well. As they spread the word, a large number of people were eager to join the 6 directional training halls, just like how Zui Yu had seen Shihong. Su Yu was pleased with herself and looked around before suddenly turning to look in a certain direction. She frowned. Xianxia. Not far away, Su Ji looked over in surprise. Xianxia? Lu Yin smiled. Long time no see. She gritted her teeth. Why are you here? Not long after, Su Ji and Su Yu brought Lu Yin and the deranged old man to a primitive planet. You want us to join the Heaven's Mirror manor? Su Ji was surprised. Su Yu sneered. In your dreams. Only a ghost would go to a place like the Heaven's Mirror manor. The deranged old man was unhappy, but he didn't interrupt. Lu Yin said, we're short on manpower, which is why we came to you guys. Since you guys have nothing to do, why don't you join? You'll have Senior Su Wuji's support. Su Yu sneered. My brother has the Void Master's support. The deranged old man's face twitched. Was this for real? The rumors that Su Ji was the Void Master's disciple were just rumors. Could it be true? Lu Yin was curious. Su Ji, are you really the Void Master's disciple? Not yet, Su Ji replied. Su Yu waved her fist at Lu Yin. Stop dreaming. There's no way we'll join the Heaven's Mirror manor. Go find someone else. Lu Yin smiled at Su Yu, causing her to grit her teeth. You're asking for a beating. Su Yu was furious. You're the one asking for a beating. Xianxia, do you dare fight me? She had wanted to beat Lu Yin up for a long time, but she had never had the chance. The closest she had gotten to beating him up had been ruined by the Spirit Palace, and after that Lu Yin's speed had been exaggerated. She had no choice but to try again. Su Ji stopped Su Yu and looked at Lu Yin. What realm are you at? Lu Yin answered honestly, the Void Realm. Su Yu was shocked. You're at the Void Realm? How is that possible? Su Ji frowned. Is that the reward for passing the Void Gate? Lu Yin smiled. That's not the reward. If you want to know what the reward is, then join the Heaven's Mirror manor. You won't be disappointed. I just want to know why you can pass the Void Gate while others can't, Su Ji said. Lu Yin replied, the Void Master told me not to tell anyone. The crazy old man's face twitched and he couldn't help but look at Lu Yin. Yet another person who was related to the Void Master. You spoke to the Void Master? Su Yu exclaimed. Lu Yin replied, yes. So if you want to know what the Void Master told me, then join the Heaven's Mirror manor. Su Ji was indifferent. Not interested. I just want to know why you were able to pass the Void Gate. Lu Yin replied, the Void Master told me that he admired you and that you had a backbone. Bullshit. How could the Void Master praise you? Su Yu shouted. Suji also stared at Lu Yin with a confused expression. The crazy old man looked at Lu Yin's back. Was the Void Master praising him? Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. These words came from the Void Master himself. Impossible. Suyu firmly disagreed. She gritted her teeth and glared at Lu Yin. You must have lied to him. Shut up. Suji shouted. Suyu hurriedly shut up, feeling wronged. Suji met Lu Yin's gaze. I believe that you can join the Heaven's Mirror Manor as well. Bro, Suyu called out. Suji continued. The prerequisite is that you have to convince me to join. What do you mean by convinced? Lu Yin asked. The crazy old man sympathized with him. The Manor Master was definitely going to take care of this kid. No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't compare to Guan Laoda, who had been completely subdued by the Manor Master. That's your problem, Suji said coldly. Lu Yin nodded. Then let's do it. Chapter 26:14. Suji's gaze turned cold as he retrieved the blue energy source from his cosmic ring and pressed it into his body. Energy with a power level of nearly 1,000,000 exploded, and the blue energy repelled everything in all directions. Up to you. Lu Yin laughed and raised his hand, causing the bone spear to float between Suji's eyebrows. This scene had happened too many times in the Void God spacetime, and Lu Yin was satisfied every time. This was the most effective way to suppress an enemy without exposing his strength. Suji stared blankly at the bone spear floating between his eyebrows. What is this? Suyu was stunned as the bone spear's Void God power made it difficult for her to approach it. It surpassed the energy of the blue energy source. Are you convinced? Lu Yin asked. Suji stared at Lu Yin. That's the reward? Lu Yin nodded and withdrew the bone spear. That's right. You ambushed him. My brother has the red energy source, so he can't lose to you. Suji barked. Shut up, little you. Suyu grew anxious. Brother, we can't join the Heaven's Mirror Manor. Our reputation is too bad. Suji frowned. The Heaven's Mirror Manor is looking for spies for the humans. Regardless of its reputation, it's only beneficial to the humans. He then looked at Lu Yin. What's your position in the Heaven's Mirror Manor? Lu Yin glanced at the insane old man. The insane old man understood. This is the acting manor head of the Heaven's Mirror Manor, appointed by Manor Head Su Wuji. You're the acting manor head. Suji was surprised to see Lu Yin. He was shocked and surprised. Suyu was also in disbelief. Regardless of the Heaven's Mirror Manor's reputation, how could this Xianxia be the acting manor head? Well said, I'm the acting manor head. Since you've joined the Heaven's Mirror Manor, your first mission is to... Lu Yin paused. Capture Yijun. Yijun was frustrated and in no mood to meet anyone. Ever since she had met Lu Yin, she had felt uneasy, but she did not know where this uneasiness came from. Could it be that something had happened in the endless battlefield? She had tried her best to save those people and even had the help of the Eternals so that she could use them. Nothing had happened to them, right? When she thought of this, she tried to contact the endless battlefield. At that moment, someone reported that Yunwu had arrived. Yijun's eyes flashed. At the foot of the mountain, the river swept the clouds into the mountain. The people around were not surprised. Yijun also had friends who could see her at any time. Yunwu was one of them, but she did not come often. Upon seeing Cloud Dance, Yijun calmly asked, "What business do you have with me?" Yunwu sat opposite her. "I have something to ask you." As she spoke, she sipped on her tea and made a few movements. These movements were the way for the two of them to identify each other. At the same time, it could also be used to transmit information. Even if someone was standing there, they would not be able to understand it because her movements were very normal. Yijun stared into Yunwu's eyes. "It's not time yet." "It's urgent," Yunwu said. "What is it?" Yijun frowned. "Ultimate Void wants to join the endless battlefield," Cloud Dance said. Yijun's expression changed. "Impossible. If he joins, what about the Void God universe?" "Suwei will come back." "Are you sure?" "I heard that Suwei's position wasn't very good, so he simply retreated and let Su Wuji go. I'll contact them right away." Yijun left after saying that. Yunwu no Lu Yin watched as Yijun left. The space in his eyes turned into lines. Even though he had merged with Yunwu's body, Yunwu did not know how Yijun contacted the Everlasting Tribe. Yunwu could not see, but Lu Yin could. Jun's every move, including the experts hidden in her shadow, could not be hidden from Lu Yin. Jun would never have dreamed that she would be targeted by Lu Yin, who had an innate spatial gift and could fight against progenitors. In the entire Void God universe, how many people in the Void realm were equivalent to progenitors? Such people would not come to see Jun at all. Jun also did not expect to be involved with such people. It was too easy for them to know about the situation in the endless battlefield. The people she could come into contact with were either families with at most Void Transformation Realm powerhouses or elite geniuses. From what she knew, she did not know much about the Void Realm. Just like when Lu Yin had stepped onto the path of cultivation, even if he had become an emissary, he had no idea how powerful progenitors were. It was only when he could fight against a half-progenitor that he experienced Xianxia's terror for the first time. In Lu Yin's eyes, Jun's every move was too clear. He knew what she said, what she did, and how to contact her. Jun soon returned. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she asked when she saw Yunwu's strange gaze. Yunwu suddenly changed back to her original appearance. Jun's eyes narrowed when she saw Yunwu turn back into Xianxia. She suddenly stood up and retreated. Behind her, a ray of light shot out from her shadow and pierced towards Lu Yin. Several gazes gathered around them, ready to attack Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled. "Miss Jun, why are you in such a hurry to leave?" As he spoke, the ray of light that shot out from her shadow stopped. It was a dagger with a card attached to the end. It was a Lost Tribe card. "Lost Tribe card? You're from the Lost Tribe?" Lu Yin's gaze turned cold as he released his Void God power, locking his shadow within Jun's shadow. His Void God power was close to the peak of the Void Realm, which was equivalent to 6 origin tribulations. On the other hand, the expert hidden within the shadow was only at the middle stage of the Void Realm, which was close to 4 origin tribulations. The difference was too great. Void gods rushed over from all directions. Lu Yin looked up. "If I were you, I wouldn't do something so pointless." Jun shouted, "Stop." The surrounding void gods suddenly stopped and stared at Lu Yin warily. Jun looked at Lu Yin and smiled. "If Brother Xianxia wants to meet me, why disguise yourself as Yunwu? You can just come directly." Lu Yin took the dagger and looked at the card behind it. "How did you get a Lost Tribe card?" Jun replied, "I don't know. I invited this person to protect me. His power has nothing to do with me." Lu Yin nodded. "You've pushed him away cleanly." He looked at Jun's shadow and flicked his finger. Void God power swept out and shook a short old woman out. She was shocked. She knew that she wasn't this person's match, but her innate gift of being able to merge into her shadow was her innate gift. "How did you get a Lost Tribe card?" Lu Yin asked. The card in his hand was very ordinary, just an ancient 4 stars card. It couldn't compare to his Hidden Mountain card, but before the 6 direction training grounds had been established, it had been very difficult for outsiders to obtain a Lost Tribe card. The Lost Tribe was also very united, and there shouldn't have been any tribesmen wandering outside. The old woman didn't answer and she just stared coldly at Lu Yin without any fear. Lu Yin sighed. "Looks like you want to die. So be it." He threw the dagger out and pierced the old woman's body, pinning her to the wall behind the waterfall. Blood flowed along the waterfall, adding a tinge of red to the scene. Jun's expression changed, and so did the surrounding cultivators' gazes on Lu Yin. This old woman had been in Jun's shadow all this time, including when Jun had contacted the Everlasting Tribe. It was obvious that she knew everything. Regardless of whether or not she was a spy, not reporting was a crime punishable by death. The old woman hadn't expected Lu Yin to be so decisive and kill her just like that. Jun also didn't expect this person to be so ruthless. They had been chatting and laughing before, but now he had killed someone in the blink of an eye. "Brother Xianxia, this is Jun planet. You disguised yourself as her and came here, and you even killed my retainer. This isn't very good." Lu Yin said, "Tell me, how long have you been a spy?" Jun's expression didn't change. "I don't understand what you mean." Lu Yin said, "Since I could disguise myself as Yunwu, it means that I know you like the back of my hand. The first time I came here I was just testing you, but you hid it well. But it was useless. Yunwu told me everything, or I wouldn't have been able to exchange signals with you. It doesn't matter if you admit it or not, your identity as a spy has been confirmed." Jun laughed and walked towards Lu Yin, slowly sitting down in front of him. "Brother Xianxia, you must be joking. I don't know anything about what you just said. I only know that Brother Xianxia wants to use force on me in this pavilion. Brother Xianxia, everyone admires you for passing the Void Gate, but that doesn't mean that everyone should listen to you. I, Yijun, am just a weak woman, but I'm not afraid of you. If worse comes to worst, I'll tell the entire Void God Spacetime about this and ask everyone to judge. Yijun's expression became more and more aggrieved as she spoke, as if she was ready to cry and complain at any moment. Her expression was full of mockery. Yumu had pointed it out. Regardless of whether or not it was true, she wouldn't admit it. With the connections she had accumulated over the years and the contributions she had made in the endless battlefield, unless there was substantial evidence, no one would admit that she was a spy. Lu Yin laughed. I know you well enough to know that you're difficult to deal with. How could I not be prepared? You want proof, right? First of all, the information you sent out is proof. Yijun replied, that was my retainer who sent it out. She's already been killed by you. I didn't expect that person to be a spy. I'm ashamed to say that I've allowed a spy to stay by my side for so long. I don't know how many humans have lost, but I can't absolve myself from the blame. I'll definitely report this to the endless battlefield and try to redeem myself. Speaking of which, I still have to thank Brother Xianxia for getting rid of this scourge for humanity. Lu Yin's lips curled up. But you were the one who sent that information. Who knows? Yijun retorted, her eyes bright. Lu Yin pointed to the bottom of the waterfall. Ask them if they know. Yijun was stunned and subconsciously looked down at the waterfall. She saw countless pairs of eyes staring at her in disbelief. Even the old woman's blood flowing down the waterfall didn't attract their attention. Right, how could it not attract attention? Yijun felt that something was wrong. She looked down at the bewildered expressions of the people below. What's going on? Lu Yin smiled faintly and didn't answer. High up in the sky, an image appeared. It was the scene of Yijun delivering a message to the outside world. Your tone, expression, and even your words were all broadcasted by me. Oh right, this spacetime also has technological developments. You should know what a live broadcast is, right? Yijun shouted, impossible. She had been operating on this mountain for too many years and knew every corner. How could she not know that someone had broadcasted it? What did you do? Lu Yin took a sip of tea. The tea is fragrant, but your tea is even more fragrant. Let's talk somewhere else. The crazy old man led his team up the mountain and surrounded Yijun.